Thank you.
Doesn't matter, it'll change.
Yep. Let me know when you're ready.
We're waiting.
You know, well, the details of the contract, is there anything beyond what's here? Is the 5%, 5%, 5% it says for the 3 years?
Absolutely.
Any other changes?
Absolutely. There's some language based on case laws, on discipline. So that's all administrative. There's no financial aspect to it. It's all administrative, like I just said. Also in there is the possibility, no guarantees, but possibility of getting dental insurance. Right now, we do not get dental insurance. We can purchase it at 100%, but there's no dental insurance. If you do a study of police departments in the state of New Hampshire specifically, we are, I would argue, the only police department that does not have any town contribution whatsoever for dental insurance. So every officer that chooses to receive dental insurance pays 100% of that cost, whether it's a family plan, single plan, or two-person plan. So that's one of the benefits. Again, it's not a guarantee that we get it. We would only get dental insurance if it is offered to other town employees at the same rates. Go ahead, Neil.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. None of the town employees get dental.
Correct.
So the numbers that we see here do not include dental insurance.
Correct.
And even if you got dental insurance, it would have to be, the cost of that would have to be in some future town warrant, not this year.
That's my understanding. I don't know the process for how that goes, but it would need to be approved by the town body, however that happens, and then that money would be allocated with the rest of that money. It would just be language in our contract that if this is offered to town employees, we would receive the same benefits offered to other non-union employees in the town.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We put in language for longevity, or longevity bonuses. We didn't have language in our contract, however, it is in the town personnel policy. We asked for one, we settled on what the town personnel policy says. So after 10 years, you get a $250 stipend. After 15, I believe it's a $500 stipend. We have that language in the contract now. Before, our contract was silent on it, so it's really no change. It's just showing it in our contract. So that's another kind of minuscule change to the contract itself. It was pretty cut and dry. We settled or negotiated for a 5-5-5 contract. The union and I think the town as well, we wanted to be fiscally responsible. We understand taxes are high, and we don't want to be the burden on the taxpayers of the town to wear. However, if you look statistically speaking, I did a little bit of research today, and for example, a sergeant's pay. The Sergeant Frisbee and I are in the bottom 25% of the state for being a first-line supervisor. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics from the 2022 data that was pushed out. I know they pushed out the 2024 data. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of that. I couldn't find it online, so we were going off the 2022. So we're in the bottom 25% for pay for first-line supervisor at the Ware Police Department. Same goes with patrol officers. Their pay is not competitive. Last year, the town was very generous with us. We got an 8%. Nobody's arguing about that. When we pitched that warrant article, our argument was, our concern was, we need to get this passed to be able to get officers here. Congratulations, we got officers here. We are fully staffed. If you look around, there are not many agencies in the state of New Hampshire that are fully staffed. Lo and behold, Ware, New Hampshire, that doesn't have a K-9, that does not have an SRO, that does not have a detective, that does not have an SRO, and we can go on and things that we do not have, but we do have a fully staffed agency and a lot of good guys and girls at that agency. And so our purpose here is trying to retain and keep the officers that we have. The town invests a lot of money in officers to get trained up. You know, we hire somebody that's not certified. It's a 16-week give or go field training program. That costs 16 weeks of that shift needing to be covered. And overtime to train him and everything else. Then they need to go to a 16-week, or in the middle of that, they'll go to a 16-week police academy. We're paying their base salary for 16 weeks to attend the academy. It is said that a law enforcement officer is not fully competent until about year 3. That's when they're very comfortable making decisions. So we have that now. We have a lot of seasoned guys and girls that are coming up through the ranks, getting the years on, getting the experience, so we can be self-sufficient, you know. But we need to keep these officers. And we think that a 5% over the next, for this year and 5 next year and 5 after that, we think, we're not asking to be the top paid police department in the state of New Hampshire by any means. But this will put us in the happy medium that if somebody's deciding, do I want to go to the big city? Do I want to go to a local agency? We can compete with the local agencies based on these pay rates. We're not going to compete with the big cities, but what we have for us is we deal with the community. We deal with people, not numbers, right? So I can say, hey, Tom, how are you? And know Tom is Tom instead of, hey, citizen, you know, 5,270. Like, we can build rapport with the community itself and provide a better service for the town. So that's our goal and idea behind this contract, and we're hopeful that you guys will support it, obviously, and we can continue to grow together and provide good services to the town of Ware.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Do you guys have any
it's a-
questions?
Just retention, right? You have a phenomenal PD now, you got a phenomenal group of guys and girls, you wanna retain them.
Who is he?
You gotta retain them.
So this is Barry Charest. He was full-time with us, and then went down to part-time, and he's actually the union president. I'm the vice president for the union. So this is Barry. He fills in when he can.
Yes.
So you're part-time now or full-time, Barry?
No, part-time now,
Part-time.
yep.
Okay, anybody else have any questions concerning the PD contract? John?
Yeah, I just wanna make sure I understand some things. So this is 5% this year, and then another 5% next year, and then another
Correct.
5% after that, total 15 over 3 years,
Yes, sir.
which would total up to $200,854 over 3 years. This is a question for, I think, maybe the committee too. I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the folks getting these raises are not included in any of the other articles.
That is correct.
Article
We are not included in, yeah, this is
They're not in the
specifically.
COLA, they're not in
They're not in the
anything.
COLA, that's
Correct.
They're their separate own entity.
Everything else is
Yeah,
department
we don't have the double whammy effect there.
Yeah, right. Gotta keep an eye on that, so just wanted to make sure I was on
Nope.
correctly.
No, everybody else is non-union. That's why they're separate articles.
And just to clarify for the committee, it's in the sheet, but it's 5 cents tax rate. It would be $17.74 for a $350,000 house this year. Which is somewhere between the DPW, it's close to the DPW raise and a little more than 5,000.
So I don't have the complete math breakdown, but we ran some numbers too. Our numbers are a little different, so I'm about $20,000 off of what it's said to have cost. I'm under. So I'm rounding up a little bit, but it's our understanding that if you own a $400,000 house, at the end of this contract, your taxes would go up roughly $60, just under it. And
At the end of the 3rd year?
yes, based on the percentage. I'm not doing the Neil math of keep on adding it too, but the final bill itself, with the tax rate of 15 cents, essentially, plus or minus, it would cost roughly just under $60. You can double check my math, but it's gonna be right in that ballpark.
What's the first year?
Let me look.
It's 5 cents for the first year. Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you want total math?
$17.74.
No, what is the total dollar?
$62,455.
Thank you.
I'm talking about this number right here?
62,425
It's
65.
Oh, so you have
Tom
different numbers than me. I have what the town.
When you
For
were
pay
saying
raises.
that it comes in with fire and highway, is that second tier where they're asking for raises, or is that the COLA? Because there's a 5% COLA running around too.
Yeah. this-
And that money's all gonna be, needed to be figured out.
Right, well, the COLA, I sat through, well, you have too, the meetings, the last 2 hearings, but the COLA covers everybody except police.
Right, but what I'm looking at is his final
I
figures
wasn't
and what
talking
that
about the
costs.
COLA, I was talking about just, it's a little less than the DPW raises specifically
Okay.
for DPW.
And then,
Total cost, because they got more.
the add-ons were in dollars rather than in percentages.
Okay.
Just curious what Neil's math's gonna be.
Neil?
The first year is a nickel on the tax bill
Correct.
and $17.75 rounded per $350,000 house.
Yeah,
In the second year, assuming everything else were the same, it would be twice that. So the first year I pay an extra 17.
yeah,
The next year I pay an extra 34.
correct.
And the third year, I pay an extra 51,
How's it 51 the next year?
because I paid an extra 17 the first year.
34%.
Okay, so you're doing the
And
compounding
in the
now.
and I pay that again in the second year, because that's last year's 5%
Yep.
raise, plus this year's 5% raise, that's 34. And in the third year, I pay $17 for the first year, I pay $17 for the second year, and voila, another $17 for the third year. So the contract will cost, in the third year, a $350,000 house owner, approximately $51.
Oh, so even better than I was saying.
We said 60.
I said about 60, so.
You were going on a 400, right?
Yeah, I was going under 400, so,
Yeah, go ahead.
thank you, Neil.
I see that we did a contract. You want 5%. What did you give us?
Our dedication to the town of Ware.
Contracts are a give and take.
Absolutely.
What did we get?
You got a fully staffed police department that is completely knowledgeable and able to self-sustain and wants to serve this community. We're not if this does not pass, we're gonna be continuing to fall behind. We've been behind the 8 ball since 2009 when I started at Ware Police Department. We're finally at a point that we're grasping there, like, we're almost there. This will help us maintain to keep a full department.
Neil?
This is not for these guys, but just for the committee. One of the problems with this contract is the fact that the town fathers have said, we are going to try to give our non-union labor the same increase that the union labor gets. So this year, the cost of living, 23, is 3.2%. These guys are getting 5%. Because the town now is giving its employees 5%. Next year, the contract is not on the table, but it's in effect, they're getting 5%. So let's assume inflation, which is going down, drops to 3% or 2%. If these guys are getting 5, the town fathers are going to say, well, we got to keep up with the union, so all of the town employees will be getting wages much higher than the cost of living increase. And in the third year, again, if inflation continues to go down, you've got the same problem. So there's a consequence to this contract that goes beyond giving the police department money.
If I could speak
But
on
that
that for a
is-
second, Mr. Chairman.
You know, that's speculation. You know, I understand what you're saying, but it is speculation. It's up to the Board of Selectmen to decide what they're going to offer, whether it's 3% or 5%. And and there are, one of the things we should look at with all of these articles are the side effects. You know, whether it's the schools, whether it's the police, it's okay. What they're saying, and I'm not just saying it to take sides because they're here, but it's true, we've gone years without being able to have a full staff. And so one of the things that this will do, hopefully, is to keep the people that we have, now that we've, as of 2 weeks ago, finally hit full staff. So, you know, it is, of course, the dollars and cents that we're concerned with, but also I think that we also have a responsibility to look at what the accomplishment is with any one of these articles. And in this case, I think that the accomplishment, in all seriousness, would be maintaining a full staff. So that's my opinion. And I realize we're dollars and cents people here, but at the same time, there's another aspect of every one of these articles.
If I may speak 1 second, Mr. Chairman. One thing that.
1 second.
Oh,
You're
Sorry.
done.
Killing me here. One thing with seasoned officers, it's risk mitigation. unfortunately or fortunately, people get sued. Officers that know what they are doing,
We haven't been lately.
why is that though? Because we have officers.
Criminals are kinder.
No, because we have officers that are more seasoned. We have a great police chief that can help us and help guide, mentor, and train the new guys, you know. But we have officers that can do the right thing. Not
No, I
that people
was-
are doing the wrong
It
thing in
wasn't
the
a real
past,
cough. It was-
but guys were green. So, yes, there's a cost to it, but in the same sense, we're not paying out all these lawsuits that we paid years ago. You know, so there's something to be said about that. Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, I just,
No, no.
never mind. It
Bill.
just,
He's got it. He's got it.
Bill, go ahead.
5% each of the 3 years, and
5 cents. Oh, I'm sorry.
5% each of the 3 years, and 5 cents as well, okay.
You're like number 5.
I think it's reasonable, because, like the sergeant said, we are getting retention now. The 8% pumped it up to where they're able to get to a level playing field now, perhaps, or somewhat. You know, small community versus small community. And where it's the same as what the town employees and non-union people are getting, and it may carry on to next year and the year after, but right now, it's reasonable, and we don't know where inflation's going. Inflation, it may be trending, it trended way up, and it trended down, but there's a belief out there that it's gonna stick around for a while. So they're saying, hey, another 5 and 5, it could conceivably go back up higher than that. So, I think it's reasonable. It's certainly different than what we got in the teacher's contract, which was quite a bit higher, and that's why we said no to that. But I think this is reasonable for people who are in a field that's very hard to hire into right now.
Can I ask a question?
Let me think, yes, you may.
Thank you. Are we discussing this as approval of this warrant article, or are we just pointing out different things? Because
Actually-
I'm getting two different
Yeah,
discussions.
if I could interrupt, that's what I was going to ask, as far as the committee's desire of how we're going to go through with these. Are we going to, like, take them as we hear them and do our vote? We don't have very many more days ahead of us where we can do that, so I think we've got to, you know, get down to business. So, right now, if we could either take a vote on this, or we could do it later tonight, but it's gotta be one or the other.
I'd prefer to do it later tonight. I think we go through the articles in order, as we have to review the school articles, because, the blurbs, because Bill's presented those. And then we need to go over, starting with Article 3, and go through it in order.
Well, I think
That
you're
was my
right,
preference.
because also we have not, we generally do not review articles in front of the people that are presenting them to do a yay or a nay. We usually do that in a more quiet session, so that there isn't this constant questioning and actioning, and, because once we start that, the deliberative session, we're not open generally to having people comment back in.
Yeah, actually, though, that's my job.
Your job?
As the chairman, is to not take
Okay.
comments from the audience once we've started our deliberations. This is kind of like public comment part.
I'll take
And then we move on to deliberations, the same as with the Board of Selectmen, and it's like, sorry, guys, but you had your chance.
Okay.
So whether we do it now or not doesn't really,
That becomes quiet then.
yeah, it's not gonna, they're not gonna jump up. Carrie, did you have something?
No, I do agree. I like the one, or I would like to go through all the articles first to discuss them before we vote.
Tom?
Yeah, and in fairness to these gentlemen, we haven't had a lot of deliberation on this, because it came in at kind of at the tail end. There was a lot of deliberation with the selectmen that we all, some of us been in, most of us been in from, so I think this, like with Chair, with Superintendent Coe, we had her in for a lot of deliberation with the committee to kind of formulate our thoughts, and I think I needed that with these guys, so it helps. A question?
Yeah, sure.
Did we, the sense of the committee last week was that we can, no, I think generally within another meeting, we could reconsider our vote on any article as things evolve and mature in the process. Is that true?
I think Neil said
Yes.
that, sorry to interrupt you.
go ahead.
Because I took the notes. He said that we could only review it in the in the following meeting afterwards. We couldn't, like, 2 meetings from now, we couldn't review what we reviewed.
Actually, to just
No.
disagree with you,
No.
because that's what somebody pointed out if we were going by Robert's Rules of
Oh,
Order.
oh, yep, you're
But
right,
then
you're right.
Neil pointed out that we
Yep.
really are not going by Robert's
Okay.
Rules of
Robertson,
Order.
his
So,
rules are not here.
so we have a time, you know, and sometimes there's new information that comes in. So anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
but-
that's fine, you were right, I was wrong.
Okay, so I guess we're gonna move along and look at the other articles and
Absolutely.
come back through them, okay? But
Absolutely.
I think you probably got a sense of what the breakouts are here.
We just thank you for you guys' time and
Yes, thank you.
dedication to the town of Ware.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. Have a good night. Drive safely. It's getting slick out there.
Boy, watch out if you're on Woodbury Road. Boy, that was like
Where are you guys gonna be
skating.
parking tonight? Mount Dearborn, I hear.
Okay, where are we starting?
Well,
Can you review Bill's article, blurb, so we get those put to bed?
yeah, we can, yes, go ahead with them, but I had some other information I wanted to add on the contract with the teachers, and which I might bring up later for reconsideration, later in time, maybe not tonight, but I wanted to know, like, those 4 positions that were cut, what were they worth? So I called Jackie Coe, and she said they used a $87,000 figure, which is approximately, so for the 4 positions, it amounted to $350,000 approximately. So that's just a piece of information to put out there for discussion at some later time, probably. Then the other thing that I was wondering about was how this ties in with the old contract, the present contract. What remains and what doesn't. So basically, the language of the contract stays the same. Anything dealing with working conditions or insurance benefits, things like that, remains the same. What does not remain the same is if this contract does not pass, people don't move up a step on the old contract. In other words, they're frozen, salary is frozen.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Why is that if the old contract is in effect and there were steps in it?
Well, that was,
Basically, the step
that was a
they're at.
question I had, and actually, I thought at our last meeting, I think that what I said implied that that's what would happen, but that's not. I guess because, just like this is a 2-year contract, that probably was a 2-year contract, and so at the end of the 2 years, the contract just, the expenditures stay the same, they don't add up for the years after. All I'm doing is repeating what Jackie said to me. Okay, because I had been under the assumption that even if this didn't pass, that they could look back at the old contract and go with that, but that's not the way it works. So,
Can I ask you a question?
sure,
On the figures that
as long as you don't put
Jackie,
me on the spot.
that Jackie gave you were on those 4 positions, is she trying to tell you that all 4 teachers get paid $87,000 a year?
No, she said that's the average that they would look at. That's the figure that they used when they were discussing this. And that includes their benefits and their retirement as well.
Okay.
The other piece of it is that she said, actually, there would be a slight drop in salary because of the insurance going up, and the teacher's portion of the insurance would go up. So the paycheck going home would be somewhat less than it would be this year because of that, that insurance premium going up and their portion subtracted directly from their paycheck. So, you've got, it's just the factors I think that we should take into, because the whole idea, and I go back to what I was saying earlier in generalities, is that we have to look at the whole picture. What does cutting 4 positions and freezing everybody's salary do to the morale of that school district. I think that we can't just turn back on that. And granted, I'm talking as somebody who voted in the majority last week. But I've been reviewing my thoughts on it and what impact that would have. If they're trying to maintain staff, what does freezing the salary and cutting 4 positions say as far as, is this the place I want to stay and work? You know, just toss it out
So are
there.
we having this argument on that article now?
Probably not, but I was just
Because
passing
either
on what
we-
I
What
learned.
I'm saying is that he's planning to ask us to reconsider that
That,
article.
exactly.
Okay.
And he's giving a little background
The
as to why he
reason-
was
the
changing.
All
reason
right,
why
so
I'm
then we
bastard.
need to table this till we hit that article.
Right.
Yeah,
But
good
we're
thinking.
gonna be there very shortly.
The reason I brought it up is because we're looking at Bill's
Right,
wording on it, and I'm just throwing a wrench into
right.
the whole thing.
While we're discussing this, are there options to deal with this, or?
No.
Is it strictly yea or nay?
Yea
It
or nay?
is just strictly yea and nay because, you know, the negotiation has already been done.
Got it. Okay.
Tom,
Yes,
is it not the case that if the district finds it has enough money in the budget to do so, they could pay the teachers or give the teachers a step increase? Even if there's no contract?
I don't know. I can't answer that because I don't know. Because I don't know how that a contract, a
Union contract?
union contract ties their hands one way or the other, you know. But they could do it perhaps, like with the police department, at times, we've had memorandums of understanding, MOUs. So perhaps it could be done with a memorandum of understanding between the union and the school district. That's what I was thinking. I don't know on what issue, but when he was talking about, when the guys we just listened to were talking, they've gone the MOU route sometimes in order to include something after the fact.
We're going to be discussing all these warrant articles, and yes, we are looking at the needs of the departments, the schools, but the other group of people, the people we represent the largest, are the taxpayers. And there are people, I can bring emails to these meetings, that are telling me if our taxes went up like they did last year, they're going to have to sell their homes and move out because they cannot afford to live here. I'm getting emails of people that are telling me they can't afford their heating bills, they can't afford their food bills if our tax is considered to go up. So we have to look at everything, not just one particular group.
I think this discussion really needs to be put on hold until we've gone through the entire budget, we have all of the articles, and then Tom wants us to go back to Article whatever, and Neil wants us to go back to Article whatever, and that's the time we're going to.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so, you want to move directly into the town budget?
No, I thought
Wanna do the
it would be
blurbs.
nice if we could put this school article to bed.
Well, you know I'm going to wake them up again.
Based on the current rate.
We've made a decision, and we've had our votes. The question, I thought that we could complete the wording and agree on the blurbs for these, and then proceed to the town warrant, so that we didn't have to go back to these. If that's okay, I'd like to comment on it.
Which one are you on now?
Thank you.
Start with, which one, with the Ware School District, Article 3.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right, all right. No, this one's mine. This one's mine, okay. I think what Bill wrote is excellent. It describes exactly the situation. I do have one change that I'd like to suggest. In the last sentence, it says, in future budget cycles, the committee encourages the district to look for additional teacher and support staff positions in both the schools and the SAU. And what I think it should read is, to look for additional teacher and support staff position in the
Reductions.
schools and administrative positions in both the schools and the SAU.
How about as well as both the schools and the SAU?
The point is, we're looking, I think we should, I think our discussion included the idea that at some point, administrative positions should be looked at, and the school district shouldn't deal with the declining student population by cutting teaching positions only.
Okay, right.
So this makes it, my suggestion makes it clear that we're looking in the future to both reductions in teaching and administrative positions. And not just administrative positions in the schools, but administrative positions in the SAU as well.
You got that, Bill?
Can I propose the change?
Well,
Tell me if you like it?
check and see if this needs to have an addition or,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna, I like the idea. I think we could also do, it's word semantics, but you could probably get away with saying, to look for additional teacher, comma, support staff, comma, and administrative positions.
In both schools and.
In both the schools
In
and
both,
the SAU.
in both the schools and the
That's what I was
SAU.
gonna say.
Sure, that's fine.
You got it.
See, I thought support staff was covered, administrative was covered under support staff, but that's okay.
No, support staff is very different from
they get
administrative.
contracts.
The support staff would be, as I understand it,
Okay. Got it.
paras and
Okay, so it's-
janitors and people like that.
So the district to look for additional teacher, administrative, teacher, administrative, and support staff positions.
In both the schools and the
Additional
SAU.
teacher, administrative, and support staff positions in both the schools and the SAU.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
You all set? Everybody with that?
Do we need to vote on that?
The
That'd
next,
be a good idea. Everybody, just a second. Everybody okay with that? Raise your hands. Unanimous. Good.
on the teacher's contract, I just changed some words to make it clearer, but no additional things. About 7 lines up from the bottom, it says, the first year of the contract, increase of over 901,000 in salaries, et cetera. I think it would be clearer if we said the increased cost to taxpayers of the first year of the contract is 901,786 in salaries and benefits, which would have a permanent tax impact of $244 on a $350,000 property. And strictly for clarification, there's no intent to change.
I think the one I think I took out the word over. Are you looking at the one I passed out tonight?
No, I was looking at mine, increase.
Yeah, throw that one out.
First year contract increase and salaries and benefits. Yeah, yours is fine.
Thanks, Neil. Get rid of that, get rid of that thing you brought with you.
I feel so much better now.
I'm very pleased that the bill put down, changed K to 000, so that people who are not familiar with K would understand what he was saying. So then, I'm all set with the teacher's contract, Article 4.
I did add, if you look at it, I did add that comment, the $100 on the second year of the contract.
Yep.
I am gonna try to keep us moving a little bit here because
Yep.
we've gone 40 minutes and we haven't really gotten to
Seven.
discuss any new articles yet.
Yep.
So if everybody's okay with that, number 3, no changes, and this is Stark 3. Stark 4, I would substitute at the very last word, which says essential services. I think the word should be positions. In filling those lower paid essential services, no, lower
Yeah.
paid yet essential positions.
Okay?
Other than that, it's good to me.
We okay with that? Everybody?
The only thing I would change to be consistent between both is, you have year one and the number one, put
She's the
O-N-E.
same old as I am.
The year,
Year space.
oh, I got
Instead
it.
of year one, to make
Right.
it consistent with the other article, or with the where article.
Yeah.
Now goes the fun part.
So can we, Tom?
I don't remember, did we finalize understanding of Article 4 for where? I still had a question.
Which one?
The teacher's contract for where, did we
Two?
We haven't,
Finalize that?
Yeah.
We did?
we haven't brought it back up for reconsideration, if that's what you're asking.
No, I didn't know if we did the sense of the committee yet.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, okay, so we're all set on these until I come back and mess them up here in a couple
Yep.
weeks, right?
Potential.
I'll bring up my question now.
Okay.
The budget.
So, going back to the town warrant,
Oh, Tom, there's one other thing before we do that. I did some calculations that I'd like to share with the committee, but it won't change anything.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, wherever I see it, I'll change.
I looked at the percentage change each year in inflation for the past 10 or 11 years. Came out to 23% and change. I then looked at the Ware School budget over that same period of time. And that came out, I think it was a 33% change. So while inflation was going up 23% over the past decade, the school budget was going up roughly 33% at a time when the student population was dropping. It doesn't change anything, it's just something that I found reassuring because it supported what I had sensed all along during these years, that the school budget was growing faster than inflation, and therefore less affordable, especially when the student population was declining. Doesn't change anything, just another number for us to consider.
And last year, Bill had a 10-year range, I think it was 10 years that you looked at that, similar. If I recall, I remember talking about that, it was how much did they grow the school budget over a longer period of time?
I don't recall using
It
just
correlates to
expression.
discussions we've had in the past.
while we're on general questions or comments, I think that it's important that as we plug numbers into the spreadsheet that Tom created, that we still let every article stand on its own merit. If we add it in as we do these, then we're gonna get, oh God, look what we've already done. And in the past, it's been a useful tool to go back to, when we do our final report, this is part of it, which goes in the mailer, and also, it's something to look at and say, well, I think we've overdone it, we gotta go back and make some changes. But I would prefer not to see it added on for every article, because I think that we wanna do justice to each article as we discuss it, rather than say, well, gee, after Article 3, we were already up to this. I'm back to my same old preaching thing, and that is that there are effects that they all have that are beyond the financial aspect of them, so we gotta look at the articles individually. Just a general comment, we'll see where it goes. But let's see where we're gonna go before we get into the first hour here without looking at anything new. Do you wanna start right with the budget? Okay, so we're on Article 7, which is the town budget. Now, we've heard a lot about this already. As I was looking over the minutes from the 20th, we had presentations from virtually every department head here. And so if we reviewed the minutes that we're going to look at tonight, there's a lot of information that we've already had there. And we also, many of you were at the public hearing for the last 2 Mondays. So I think if you have questions, then we should discuss them, but I don't know, as we have to relive the whole thing as far as the individual lines in the budget, or, well, you get what I mean. Keep it moving, in other words.
Don't wanna count paper clips?
Well, I think that's already been done for us. That's what
All
I'm saying.
right.
So we have in front of us the total expenditures, the anticipated revenues, and the amount to be raised by taxation, and you can see the difference between the default and the proposed budget. Yeah,
I'd like to throw out some numbers. When the town throws out numbers, they usually compare the proposed budget to the default budget and things like that. I've done some different comparisons. There are two kinds. First, the budget increases, that's the total amount we're spending. And the second group is the tax rate impact. So, there are a whole variety of different ways to determine this, and I'm sure somebody can come up with different numbers if they wish to. But trying to be consistent and fair, here are some numbers for your consideration. If you look at the total amount of the budget, and all of this information, by the way, comes from, where is that? This document that was presented to the Board of Selectmen dated January 15th, and the information I've taken comes from pages 4 and 6 of that document. The 2024 budget was $8,574,000. The 2023 budget, this is before warrant articles, just the budget itself, was $7,977,000. That's a 7.5% increase. Now, to some extent, that's not a fair comparison because the voters, in addition to voting that 7.9 million, also voted 2 contracts in, one for the police and I've forgotten the other one. So if you compare the 2004 budget with the 2023 budget, adjusted for the expenditure for those contracts, which the people voted in, it's a 5.4% increase. So the raw data is 7.5 with the adjustment for what the voters did. It's a 5.4% increase. If you remove, forget it, that's too arcane. Let's talk about the tax impact now. Remember, when we budget $8 million, but then we get $4 million worth of revenue. So when it goes out to the taxpayers, they're only paying taxes on the $4 million we need to raise from them because we got the other $4 million in revenue from, when you register your car and all sorts of other things. So I'm only looking now at the dollars in taxes we're raising. It has nothing to do with how much we're spending, just
Okay.
how much people have to pay in taxes. In 2024, the amount that we're going to be raising by taxes is $4,479,000. In 2023, we were raising $4,052,000, and that includes the money for the contracts that were voted by the people. That's a 10.5% increase in taxes for the town budget. Okay? A smaller increase in dollars of the budget, in budget dollars, but a larger increase in the tax dollars, 10.5%. If you compare not the proposed budget, but the default budget, in terms of the taxes we have to raise to support that, versus the taxes we raised last year to support the budget we actually adopted with the warrant articles, it's a 2.23% increase. Okay? So if we were to vote in favor of the default budget, we would be giving the taxpayers a 2.23% increase in their taxes. If we were to adopt the proposed budget versus the default budget, if that's the choice, there's an extra 8.1% that the taxpayers would have to pick up as compared to adopting the default. So if we go for default, there's a 2.2% raise. If we go for the proposed 10.5, the difference is roughly 8 and change. Now, if we were to go for the default budget, what are some of the consequences? Obviously, the selectmen have less money appropriated. But will they have less money to spend? As you know, this is a bottom line budget. We appropriate we appropriate $8 million, and they tell us what they plan to spend it for. But legally, they can spend that money any way they wish, as long as they don't exceed the appropriation. So they could give the police department a lot more or a lot less, take it away or give it to Public Works. It's up to the selectmen. And you know, at the end of the year, when they do have money that they find is not going to be spent, they will in fact increase the budget of one department or another to deal with problems that came during the year that hadn't been addressed. So, here's what's going to happen if the default budget is adopted, and this is my best guess. One obvious place where money is not going to be spent is in the Public Works Department. We are budgeting for 12 positions. Only 6 of them are currently filled. We know how difficult it is because the selectmen, to fill those, because the selectmen have put in a separate article, I've forgotten the number, giving them a special raise in addition to the cost of living raise, to try to make the positions more attractive so we can fill them.
Every town is, they're all having problems.
Many towns are having problems, but in any event, this is my assumption. Let's assume that of the 6 positions that are vacant, 3 of them get filled and 3 of them don't. Very arbitrary, but workable. Of the 3 positions that get filled, they can't get filled for the full year because we're already 3 weeks into January. Chances are they'll get filled for half the year. Okay? Maybe one gets filled for 9 months, one gets filled for 6 months, and one gets filled for 3 months. On average, 6 months. Assuming that each position pays $20 an hour, that's $40,000 a year, plus $20,000 in healthcare benefits, it's roughly $60,000 a position. The school is $87,000 because they pay their people more than we pay our works people. If that's the case, the selectmen are going to have approximately $270,000 left over at the end of the year. If we were to adopt the default budget and they can't fill the positions, or they fill them as I've indicated, they're going to wind up with unspent money equal to $270,000 for salaries that are appropriated but not expended because we can't fill the positions. The cost of the $3 raise in that article is $70,000. Okay? So if we were to adopt the default budget and defeat those raises, the selectmen will have more than enough money to pay those raises. They have $270, they pay $70 for the raises, they still have $200,000 left over for other things. Now, there's no question they're going to have some money left over. I gave you a representative sample of what they might have. It could be greater if they can't fill the positions, it could be less if they fill all the positions. But I think we need to understand that although we're approving a budget, proposed or default, money will be left over, money will not be spent. For example, if one of the police officers, and we hear they're fully staffed now, should decide in the middle of the year to leave, okay, they may not be able to fill that position. What happens? There's more money that falls to the bottom line, lapse, we call it, and that money could be used by the selectmen for another purpose. So, I'm very comfortable in supporting the default budget because I think there will be enough money to do whatever they need. And it doesn't make sense to me for the taxpayers to have to raise the full cost of 12 positions when in point of fact, it's very unlikely that they're going to be filled during the year. So, for that reason, I would favor the default budget in this article, voting against supporting the
I have to agree with you.
proposed budget. And I've tried to give you enough information that caused me to be comfortable with making that recommendation and believing that no town services will be adversely affected by that decision.
I have to agree with you because every year, these budgets all end up with money back. And,
Part of the reason, I'm sorry, I've
I
interrupted.
mean,
Go ahead.
I know it can be due to employee attrition and all those good things, but the point is there is money that comes back and then we hear about, ooh, we need to go buy this. It was never on the list, but suddenly we need it. Or they want to put it in a special fund for something they want to go spend later on against. I've seen this before. The years I've lived here, it's continued to happen. I wholeheartedly agree with it.
If I may, Tom, just to respond to that?
Well, what I disagree with is the concept of not funding positions that we know do need to be filled. You know, if we need 12 people in the highway department, we can't budget for 6 and then go shopping with no money in our pockets for the other 6 as the year progresses. And as far as, well, we can go ahead and give raises later, I don't know if you can do that if we don't put it on the warrant as a separate article. You know, like, the things that we're gonna look at for raises. Can't say, well, we're not gonna fund that because the selectmen can just do it with money that they know they're gonna have in the budget anyways, because it just doesn't work that way.
Well, I know there's the no means no. If the voters vote down a particular article, the selectmen can't spend that money for that purpose, using money they may have left over. But they don't have to do the same thing. They can offer different kinds of raises that would be legal and not be bound by the no versus no if we were to defeat or to not recommend both articles, the wages for the highway people and the default budget. I wanted to respond to something that Lori said though. There are different boards of selectmen, and some boards are much more responsible, frugal than other boards. The current board has not done the kinds of things that Lori's talking about. They have not taken this year-end money and done things with it that were not in the budget. They've been reasonably prudent. Other prior boards, you can't say that necessarily is the case. So let's make sure that we're talking about this board, and this board's been responsible.
Just a second.
Yeah, I just want to ask a question. If I can.
You wanted to add something? I'm
I
sorry.
just have to ask for clarity. I don't understand some of his math. No, we can share it. Let's be out in front here.
Let her come on up front so she
Yeah,
can
I don't
talk.
mind.
Yeah.
Would you like the numbers?
You two could stand together up there and talk about it so everybody can hear it.
What was your last year's budget number, Neil?
He used the 799,977, I think is what he used.
4479224 is the proposed budget, the amount of money to be raised by taxes according to page 6. It's on the proposed, we're raising this much.
I see 23.
So where's the,
23 was on page
no,
4.
this is 20,
No, you were talking about 23. So, I thought I heard you mention it in 24 was a certain number, and in 23's approved was a certain number.
yes.
What did you use for 23's approved?
The 23, the amount of money to be raised by taxes in for the 1923 budget was 4 million.
1923. Rob, let me go home.
What are we doing?
The 2023 budget was
Yep.
$4,032,621.
52.
4 million what?
52.
Here, did I give you?
4,052,621.
52,621. Yep.
That's on the bottom line of the column called 2,000 approved on page 4.
2023.
estimated amount of taxes to be raised, $4,052,621.
Okay,
And then for the proposed budget in 2024, as on page 6, the bottom line is $4,479,244. And doing the math, it comes out to be 10.5%.
so you're not taking into consideration what was approved that has an effect on 24s? So when you approved the collective bargaining, you still had 3 months left.
He's talking about
I'm talking about on bottom of 4. Yes, I understand your 8,135,000, but then when people voted for approval of collective bargaining and pay increases, there's still 3 months of 24, because you only approved 9, so you knew and were warned that there's an additional amount of money.
But isn't that included?
No, that's why this shows it.
$4,479,000.
This shows it on the very bottom, and that's where I didn't understand, because you take into consideration the 8 million, I'm just gonna use the 8 million because it's easier.
But let's use tax dollars. That's what this
But
is
your
about.
estimated revenues are not apples to apples either.
Excuse me. Okay, you're correct. Let's use the approved budget.
So when the town approved it, let's not talk about revenue at the moment, when they approved it, they knew that they were gonna have, or $8,187,527. And then there was other things included in the budget, which was the increase in health insurance premiums, as well as the increase in, and then there was a decrease in debt service and a decrease in the police payroll.
But those
So
are also
that-
in the default budget, Naomi.
Correct, but I'm getting approved and, I guess proposed and approved, you're only looking at, you're not adding what was approved. And that's where we get to in 24, because that's a result of the voting. Am I missing the point?
I think you're correct, but I thought we were talking about the tax rate. You're talking, you want to talk about,
Well, in the tax rate, I mean, using different estimated revenues, we're always conservative, you know that. Using a different net assessed evaluation from year to year because we're conservative. You're not using the same impact numbers. If you were gonna use the same revenues and the same net assessed evaluation, I might lean towards what you're saying. But I don't think it's apples to apples. I understand how you came up with it, that is how we tried to show it as well. But you're not deducting the same amount of revenue and you're not using the same net assessed evaluation from 23 to 24.
that's correct, but what I am doing is looking at this from the point of view of somebody who pays property taxes.
And I do.
What you said is maybe correct, but what I said is correct for a taxpayer. From the
Okay.
taxpayer's point of view, he's going to see his taxes rise by this amount.
Which is
after all
exactly
the
what
adjustments.
happened. It was 8%. You were right on. It was 8% in this year's increase, which is exactly what happened. The tax rate went up 8%. We can respectfully, I just was trying to figure out your numbers, but we don't have the same amount of revenue. If we'd used the same amount in each year and the same net assessed evaluation, I would be a little bit different with that, but I understand what you're saying.
And I understand what you're saying, and you have a point, but I'm looking at this as a pocketbook issue rather than an economist's
Okay.
issue.
Okay, but
think
the
we
other
gotta-
issue thing was we have $115,000 in insurance we have to pay.
Oh, I understand.
And
You've
we
got
also
obligations.
hope to
But that's
not
under
have
default-
6 people out on an icy night.
But that's under the default budget too.
Insurance is not,
No,
beg to differ with
no.
you.
The
Insurance,
$115,000
$115,000 is not in your default.
What's that for?
It's the increase in
GMR.
the insurances. If you look at, in your budget, if you look at the, article, I think we've got it on both sides, the insurance is $115,000 less in default than it is in proposed. No, the thing I handed out, Article 7, the highs and the lows. So we have $115,000 that we have to pay out of either budget, I'm just saying. And I can live with the rest, that's fine.
Thank you. Well, Naomi, those insurance are not included in the default because they're not by contract.
That's right.
The insurances that have to be included in the default would be the contract, the health insurance that employees get, that's part of their deal. And they get it each year, so if the cost goes up, that goes in both the default budget and the proposed budget. But there's no requirement, what kind of insurance is this?
Liability?
It's through Primex.
Is it the
We have it through
liability?
Primex, we're in a pool, and it covers the workers' comp, unemployment, and our liability.
Unemployment should be covered
Unemployment.
in the default.
Yep.
No.
Unemployment is not?
We had that lawsuit, Neil. We can't.
Really, did we?
We can't. So
Okay.
that's, as a result of that, I still have to pay the $115,000 based on, so I understand, but at the same time, I'm just saying, you get 6 people out tonight trying to do an icy road, and I don't even want to be near the telephone at the moment, so.
Yeah, let's shift to some other people.
Can I say something? Just, not getting too far in the weeds, but the bottom line between the proposed and the default is $333,370. The difference is whether we're gonna pay on a $350,000 house, $91. That's what the difference is gonna be. So it's whether you think, or whether we as a group think that there's gonna be $333,000 in the, that's taken away, that can be absorbed. In other words, $333,000, if we vote for the default budget, it's gonna be $333,000 less than what was requested. And is there gonna be enough positions vacant? Is there gonna be enough other flexibility in the budget to make that happen? Or should we be looking at it and saying, for $91, we should give them what they want? That's the decision we have to make.
On that basis, you would vote yes on every article, 'cause it's-
I didn't say I was gonna vote yes. I'm
No,
just,
but that argument suggests a yes vote on every article.
some articles are more important than others. Last year, we did provide we did support strongly a proposed budget because we'd gone a number of years without it. So that got, when you say whether we should be voting for something or against something, that should probably lend credence to saying, well, we got it last year. The taxpayers absorbed an 8%, over an 8%, 8.08 hike in their taxes. Maybe this year the town can absorb the 333,000 somewhere, and we gotta be sensitive to the impact on the taxpayers. So, since they got a proposed budget last year, you could say we're gonna be sensitive to what the impact on the taxpayers this year. But basically it's $91 for $333,000 difference. Everybody makes their own decision. Taxpayers will make their own decision.
Just to emphasize, 3 years on a default budget, and the things that were, well, there are a multitude of contracts, not just the insurance benefits, but everything from technology, technical support to lawn care to, you go right down the line. And it has to be made up somewheres, and so the change this last year when we finally approved a budget. Looked like a big jump, but we were talking about a budget that was created 3 years before as a default budget. And so when you look at the difference, you gotta take into account the spread there that the spread of years. You were really talking about a 3-year-old budget that you were then comparing the present year's budget to. The other thing is the year-end stuff. You know, a lot of times, and I speak from experience on this as being a selectman for a while, many times, whether it's stated in writing or not, the department heads are encouraged come the last quarter of the year to hold on to their spending, because we don't want to have to go out and borrow money through a tax anticipation note in order to get through to the end of the year. So sometimes it's right out there. We're going to freeze the budget November 1st, or freeze the budget October 15th. Sometimes it's just communicated we gotta hold a line on these so that at the end of the year, yes, we better have a surplus, but we can't we can't overspend. So they're balancing there, and that's one of the ways that it's done. And a lot of times it doesn't have to be done because the department heads already know that. So they are conscious of what their bottom line is, and they work to keep within it or below it. So we have a surplus at the end of the year. And more often than not, that is used to offset the following year's taxes. Once the auditing is done, and so they're sure of exactly what it is, it comes back to the taxpayer. Unless there are some things at the end of the year, and I agree that the things at the end of the year should be really related to the budget usually. Like if they decide to fill the salt shed out of surplus money, it makes sense. Or sand, salt, or, well, those are the two that come to mind.
Well, there was some.
Fuel,
There was some capital
top off the fuel.
in
Yeah,
last year's end of.
yeah, I know. But I think that one is more palatable than the other.
Oh, sure.
You know, the topping off your fuel supply, topping off your salt supply and things are all things that I think it's fiscally responsible to do that. And the other, leave up to the people who are in charge, which is the selectmen at the time. There also are things like with the police budget that they simply weren't putting in their budget, which they should have been. You know, the tasers and things that and so, the appropriate thing would have been to have them in the budget to begin with and not rely on end-of-the-year expenditures to get things that are necessary for your department. And I think they've done that this year. Anyways, I think that looking at the difference between the default and the proposed is the way to go in making our decision. And what are the impacts if it's default? I think that $91 number is a significant one that Bill gave us, because it's not unaffordable for many people.
But when you put it in the grand scheme of things, that's $100. Think about, that's $100 on top of the current tax bill that people are paying. And we haven't even got to the other 14.
Yeah,
So,
but what I,
that's why I like to look at it from a big picture perspective. $90 doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a $100 component. We've only added $6 to the taxes so far with, recommending the John Stark budget. So now we're almost to 100, so you keep going.
What did Bill say on the John Stark budget? Gee, $49,000.
Yeah,
That really can be used elsewhere.
yeah.
Can I make that same argument on the town budget?
Yes.
You could, or maybe it's up towards the plow truck. I don't know. When we go down and go through them,
What-
a penny here, penny there, pretty soon we'll talk about real money, is the old expression.
I don't know about you guys, but I really enjoyed Tom's spreadsheet, because I went through it and was spending like a drunken sailor, as they say. And then I looked at the bottom line, and I couldn't accept it, so I went back and tried to make some better judgments about relative importance, in my view. And at the end of the day, what I came up with was a 5.6% tax increase. Okay, that's as low as I could persuade myself to go. You folks can persuade
You
me to
backed
do
into
something
it?
different.
You backed
I
yourself
backed
in?
into it, and first it was 10%, so I had to make some decisions. I don't know if that's a reasonable number or not. It certainly is higher than inflation.
Something that everybody ought to keep in mind is we're saying that we're having a hard time hiring
In some areas,
in
not
some
all.
areas. Highway, fire, PD. Fire, we're okay at, but there
And
are
police
fire
we're okay
departments that are hurting. Right now, we're okay at PD, but that depends, on whether somebody finds something else they wanna jump ship to. I mean, this is the way this works. But there aren't a lot of people that are rushing to fill any of these jobs anywhere, that we are not going to fill them 1, 2, 3 in the next 3 months. We absolutely are not. And a good portion of this town, close to a quarter of this town, lives on fixed incomes. $91 is a lot of money to them, and we haven't gone after any other thing except this tonight. And I really do think, we're hearing about the employees, we've got COLA raises, we've got union raises, everybody's getting raises, but these taxpayers are not.
I think,
And I think it's important we think about that.
it is, but you're talking in generalities. And, I'm not disagreeing with it, but we have many, many articles here to look at ahead of us. And to me, and I speak from experience as a person who sat for many years on select board, the most important thing, one of the most important, is the operating budget. There are other places here where we can look and make decisions to, save money, keep the tax rate down. It isn't just this first thing we're discussing. So I think we gotta move ahead here and look at these other articles before that, and if we say, well, we gotta go back to the default budget,
Do you want to take a preemptive vote on this?
yeah, I wanna vote on it right now, but then knowing we can come back to it at the end of the session, I will remain a strong proponent of the proposed budget, because I don't believe you can cut positions that are necessary to fill, assuming that you won't be able to fill them. And so anyways, that's my spiel on this.
Call for vote?
So what we're really looking at is the default versus the proposed budget. So I'd like a motion on the proposed budget, then we can go back if that fails to the default. But,
So first you have to motion to propose the default budget?
No, to support the proposed budget. You always go, that's what the article is.
Okay,
So we
motion
always-
to support the proposed
I
budget.
move that we support the proposed budget. that we
Second.
Recommend the support of the proposed budget.
Second,
okay. Those in favor? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
now how do we reword
You
this?
better ask for those who are opposed.
Yes.
Sorry.
Give me time, Neil.
Sorry, I
Give me
missed it.
time.
Who voted yes?
Let's just do it again. Well, keep your
Okay.
hands up. So,
Tom. Okay. Got it. Thank you. Sorry.
no, that's okay. We get it right. Those that are opposed to that motion.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
So that was 5 in favor and 6
Not in favor.
opposed.
I move that we not recommend the proposed budget.
Second,
All those in favor of not recommending the proposed budget? Looks like the same people to me. I always get mixed up on
Alright.
phrasing these. Okay, those who are opposed to not opposing?
oh jeez.
The other side of the issue, please raise your hand. They come up with the same numbers?
Yeah, I always forget to include myself though, even when I was
Oh,
doing it.
okay.
I'm like, oh, I didn't even include myself in this. Anyways, that's neither here nor there.
So where are we at according to your minutes?
Kind of a,
We're on to the next article.
The vote has
pass barely.
No, it didn't
No.
pass.
failed.
Failed.
Bill.
The
5 to
vote, the
6.
vote
That
to
one
support the
failed,
proposed
first one
budget.
passed by one.
No, the first one
The
failed.
first one
that
failed, the second one passed.
No, you're
Yeah.
wrong. you're wrong.
Not recommended.
It's not recommended
On
6-5.
a 6-5 vote, we are not recommending the proposed town budget under Article 7.
Okay,
Right now.
Correct.
so
Today.
we don't really need a motion on the default, because you get the default budget if you don't pass the proposed. All right,
Correct.
Let's try eight.
I won't worry about wordsmithing comments right now. I got enough probably to play with if that's how we end up.
it's better anyways, you come back with something for us to look at, rather
Yeah.
than trying to invent it as a group of.
Oh, yeah, oh, absolutely.
CBA?
We go on to the CBA police contract. And we'll entertain a motion to support this, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Or to recommend it,
Oh, God.
and we'll back off from there if we need to.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to support it. Support the proposed,
To recommend,
to recommend the
CBA.
proposed collective bargaining agreement with the police department.
I'll second it.
Made and seconded. Those who are in favor of recommending Article 8, the CBA for the police department, raise your hand.
Four changes.
Did you get the number?
10-1.
Those who are opposed to recommending, okay, 1. Non-union raises.
Could I just get a bullet? Because I got to put a bullet in there.
Yeah, I think
Police contract, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
inflation is expected to come down, and anticipated to come down, and with the increase in crime rates occurring in the city and urban environments, that police officers are actually finding higher demand in communities such as Ware, and finding it more appealing, because it's safer.
wow, I wish you had said that before the vote.
Didn't we just vote for it?
She can say it the next time, if we agree on that.
Didn't
Okay.
we recommend it?
Yeah, but you said, I got the inflation part, but at the second part, can you just hit that?
Towns like Ware are safer than urban environments.
Okay,
and
all right.
cities, and
See,
so
last
with the
year,
increase in
we
crime rates-
decided to, and I think we carried it over to this year, to give both sides, even if it's
Okay.
one person.
Sounds like we're safer,
But he's
so
looking for that
They
one
won't have a
have-
problem hiring, right?
won't have a problem in,
Yeah.
okay, I got you, I got it, I got you. And positions are currently filled, okay, got it.
Small town is more desirable.
Okay, Article
Yep.
9,
Do we
so,
need to vote the other way on that one again, or no?
No.
Okay, all right.
It is yours.
yeah, that's fine. Accountability here, this is my,
Just for fun, because we have nothing better to do with our time.
How many more?
so the town raise and appropriate the sum of $98,190, representing a 5% COLA pay increase for all non-union employees and personnel, town and library personnel. And we heard a lot about this the other night. There are other articles in here, but this is a COLA that would affect everybody.
I move we recommend Article 9.
Second.
We'll go
Can I
right,
actually ask a question before we vote on it?
sure.
Yeah,
Actually, we should have a discussion.
yeah, we should, yeah, could happen
I'm
last.
sorry,
Okay.
I was out of order
Yep.
on that last one.
So, this is me, maybe me being ignorant, but, so every job I've ever had, when I go to a job, yearly I get an interview, like a review of how I did that year. And that's where I get my increase in pay. So, does the town not do that, and this is what's making up for that situation? Like, I just don't understand why, like, if Naomi did a really great job that year, whoever Naomi's bosses reviews her and says, okay, you get 3% this year, and then the following year she gets 3% again, like, why isn't?
Different in public.
Okay, yeah, that's what, I mean, that's what I'm asking, I
So,
don't, I'm ignorant.
I'm
about it.
accept on there, you didn't add that?
No,
It Doesn't include me?
No, I was just using it as an example, because you're a town employee.
No, so, we all do our evaluations, evaluations have been done. I think 5%, as stated earlier, was to stay in line. I'm not, it's called cost of living, but there's still 3 department heads that have not had reviews yet, which are police, DPW, and myself, even though I'm not included. But reviews are done, and how they are going to be calculated from there, I'm not sure, but the calculation was made 5% for everyone.
Okay, so no matter what your review is, you're getting the 5%?
I didn't say it that way.
Okay,
It
sorry,
may-
okay.
It may be a pool, probably will be.
Okay.
But I haven't heard the word pool at the board level, so
Okay.
I'm just anticipating that it'll be distributed somehow, but to come up with a number for some certain,
Okay,
we had to come up with some mathematical way of doing it.
all right, okay.
So 5% matched to 5% with the police, so that,
Yes.
Okay.
Let me follow up on that question. Historically, has there ever been a year when you were here when people got, other than a uniform, X% raise?
you mean,
That a person whose year-end review was very good got 6%, and a person whose year-end review was poor got 2%, or whatever the numbers might be?
I
Or has
recall,
there
I
been-
recall a year us doing that, yes.
Could you tell us what year that was?
In the 30 years I've been here? No. I don't,
So one
because
year
I
out of
think,
30.
like, I've been here in this position since '09, but it doesn't seem like yesterday, so. I don't know, but we have done that. And I don't remember what year, I'm sorry. But it has been done.
But it's not, the normal, the usual is the.
Well, the last
across
few
board.
years, it's been across the board. I mean, the new board now, we implemented job descriptions and, you know, they're working on, the departments, the department heads. They have a review evaluation form that, and they've partnered up 2 of them for each, and then they'll all get together and we'll do that. I think we're gonna do that in February for the 3 department heads. Everybody else, Jason has done his, I've done mine. Chief Moore does his separately, fire department does his separately, because it's not under my wing yet. But it has been, it probably been maybe 1 or 2 years, Neil, to answer your question. I don't know what years.
Thank you.
But it's if this article gets approved, the limit is 130,000, right? I mean,
For a year, yes.
for
That's the annual, that would be the annual number, 98.
the annual, yeah.
Yeah, 98 is
part of
for the
year,
9
yeah,
months.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, but I shouldn't, I gotta be careful though, because I was probably gonna use the word pool, but I shouldn't use
Yeah,
the
the
word.
pool has not been mentioned, that's why I'm very
Okay,
cautious
yeah, yeah.
mentioning it.
Yeah.
But we have to come up with a way of figuring a number.
And,
So the number was the 5% based on the 5 that agreed to at the PD.
Okay,
Just to reiterate, just to make sure I'm clear, the performance-based raises, or the performance-based increases are separate and within the current within the current budget?
No, this would be, so every year we come back, and there's been that discussion, is do we need to? But we feel, it's been done this way for a long time, that a raise or a cost of living even increase or performance, you're right, I know a lot of private sector, they do it as Maria had said, but we can do evaluations and you can get a bang-up evaluation, but it goes to the taxpayers, so your bang-up evaluation could get you 0, right? And it could get you a percentage. But every year we've done them, but the last few has been across the board.
Lori?
Can you, am I allowed to ask her questions?
Everyone else says,
Yes.
Okay. We gave them a 4% raise during COVID.
okay,
They've gotten 4% consistently.
we've done 3 mostly, maybe a year of 4. It's
But
usually around 3.
If you average it to what Social Security has done, they're actually ahead in how much they've gotten over the people in Social Security.
I think we've done that and we're actually a little behind. Because 1 year Social Security got 8.9 and we didn't, we got 3.
Last year, Social Security got
Because-
8.8, but below, past that, during COVID, they were like at 0.2, 0.8. And, you know, we had these things going on, and they did not work every day. But all I'm saying is, once again, I'm going back to, people working in the private sector, a lot of these companies have not recovered from COVID. They are not giving raises. They are not giving cost of living. And
So why aren't they working? Why aren't they coming out and taking a job that we have open?
because they're working at the jobs they have.
I'm just saying.
They're grateful for the jobs they have. I mean, why would you want to come work for the town at a lower rate than what you're making, but you're not
You're just
getting
making
any
our
more
case.
money? No, why would they want, if they're not getting more money, why should they pay you more money? Why are you worth?
I'm not
more than what
included
they
in that
do?
article,
Just
so.
to interrupt you, Lori, our job tonight is to
Yeah.
look at that and say, do we support it or not?
Yeah,
The public hearing was the place to discuss whether the
Yeah, and
5% or
my,
3%
I
or
don't,
whatever.
you know, I mean, someone has gone back and done what Lori's done. I don't remember the years that they did it, but there was a number done, and it was also mentioned that when we first gave raises, we also added 10%, 10% to the, you know what I mean? We gave them 3%, but asked them to kick in 10 for their insurance. So I'm just saying, I mean, there's other things to that as well. So is he looking for us?
it's a police person.
I just want to make sure I understand this. Line 3 says this
Probably
money,
getting rowdy.
$98,000, represents a 5% COLA pay increase. Now, to me, as a voter, that means that everyone is going to get a COLA, a 5% increase. Whether your performance review is poor or good, this article is saying it's a COLA. So there is, everybody gets it.
And that's the word that was used at the public hearing, that's why the COLA is written there. It was discussed also Monday night as a COLA to differentiate between the wage adjustment, the next two you're gonna talk about.
But to answer the question that was brought up, it just says COLA, and I agree with
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying. But there have been times when it was a pool that was distributed, and there are different points of view on that. Like, do you want to keep the 2% employee? You know what I mean? I mean, if somebody is not doing well, you pay them less and expect they're gonna go away? You know, so either way, put it, that's a whole
No,
different
it is, and I know
This
what
right
she's
here.
asking's been done. I just don't know if they use 3 years, 5 years, 6
Well,
years. I
since
don't
this
remember,
says
and I don't have it
COLA,
with
this is
me.
what the
Yeah.
board
I didn't
agreed
open
to,
a can
that
of
it's
worms.
a
I
No,
just didn't
that's-
understand
No,
how
you
it
make a
works.
very good point. I mean, my husband works out in the private sector as well. He gets a large Christmas bonus, right? We don't get a bonus. So it's similar, it's not the same.
But regardless of what we've done or not done in the past, Maria, this is a COLA.
That's in front of you.
And everybody gets it, correct?
Everyone gets it.
Okay. So,
Not everyone
Excuse. Yeah, but you got your COLA 3 years ago, Naomi.
have you
It's not based
gotten to
on-
the point, have we, with the discussion where we can do a vote now?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor of
Is the vote to
recommending,
recommend?
to recommend Article 9? Those in favor of, that's what's on the table right now, a motion to recommend Article 9. So, all those in favor, raise your hand. Keep them up for a minute for Maria.
I'm good, I'm good.
Six.
Now you gotta go the reverse.
And how many are opposed to that motion?
Yeah, how many are opposed to that motion? And what was the vote?
Hold on.
6 to 7, I think, is that right?
No,
No, 6 to
6 to
5,
5,
5.
Now do you have to reverse it?
No, because it
because
passed.
it passed.
It passed.
May I ask Elizabeth for her reasoning, because I was impressed with the reasoning on the other article, and I should have asked for this before.
It's similarly just looking at inflation and then the prior cost of living adjustments that were done.
But does the argument that this is fair because the cops got 5, these guys should get 5, that didn't matter?
No,
Okay, so it's just that it's above the rate of inflation.
right, because I
Okay.
don't believe that a cop should get 5, neither town, the COLA.
You all set, Bill?
Yes, I am.
All right, Article 10, This is a straight dollar amount. It's one of the things that we've spent a long time on a couple of these articles with. So it's a flat $3 per hour raise for each position in the Department of Public Works.
It's just step one. It says step one.
Pardon me?
Step one, not to each. Step one, and then it will work its way through the steps.
Compounds
Oh,
through
oh,
the
okay,
steps.
okay.
May I ask a question?
Naomi, we say through the steps, is there a pay scale for,
We have a few, yeah, I think there's, I don't remember the number of steps. But to entry level, they were gonna add $3, and then I think Beth even said Monday night that the highest somebody would get is $3.48. If they're on step 5 or 6, I don't remember the,
okay,
but that's why it's specific to step one, because typically through the door, we hire at step one. And that's where we're struggling with hiring. The guys that have hung in there with us are at different numbers, but
She needs you.
Just so folks know, a $3 an hour increase is roughly $6,000 a year. And I'd forgotten, maybe the guys who were at the selectmen's meeting would remember, the average pay is $20 an hour?
Mhm.
That's 40,000, this would bring it up to 46.
That answered my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
yeah,
And also remember that this department is down 6 employees.
And they're also getting a 5% COLA.
Yes, this would be on top of a 5% COLA.
And I'm not sure, Naomi, please correct me, did not they give a bonus for something this year?
was it? May I
Stand by.
answer that? I think I can answer that because I wrote an article on it. It was anybody who signed on to work from, I think it was November 1st or 15th, one or the other, 15th, through April 15th, got a bonus. And that bonus was an additional, I think, $2.50 an hour?
week,
Pardon me?
$250 a week.
I couldn't hear you.
A week.
$250 a week.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, would they also be
250
the
a week.
5% COLA as well as this?
No, they're
That's a one
they're
time.
not, I don't.
They're contractors?
My understanding, they're just, I mean, we've got contractors, we've got people that are helping us fill and. do
They are
the-
not part of the
It was a
full-time,
sign-on bonus.
okay.
For snow plows,
Yeah.
specifically for plowing, not for the general.
Thank you.
Okay, we have to put this on as a motion, and then we can decide after we discuss it. We haven't
Okay,
done
you
that.
want the motion and then discuss it?
That's
Okay.
the way it should be.
Yeah, yeah.
So if somebody could make this a motion to support Article 10, and then we'll take it from there.
Motion to support?
The motion is to recommend Article 10.
Recommend. yeah.
Whatever.
All right, was there a
We
second?
need a second.
Second.
Okay.
Who,
James?
Jess?
We don't.
For record purposes.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not gonna fight over it. Pick one of us.
Discussion.
Yeah, I'll say.
James, you want it.
I'm going to try to, if I may, I'm going to try to do what I would hope Elizabeth would do, but didn't. And that is to explain what I'm going to do and why.
Huh?
I'm going to vote against this article because I think there's more than enough money in the default budget for the selectmen to provide, it wouldn't be $3 per step, but because if this were voted down, you can't do that, no means no. But to give a significant $6,000 person raise, if they wish to do so, with money that would be available in the default budget.
Can I say-
But my point is,
Go ahead.
it is necessary to raise the wages for these folks. The question is how, not what, in my mind, not whether, but how.
Your turn.
I'll speak in favor of the article. They've been down people. They've got about half staff down there. You drive through Dunbarton, you drive through other towns. This is a problem. And to put Band-Aids on it and say, well, we can get by, we're gonna borrow it from here, we're gonna borrow it from there, now we're gonna contract out people. The way to solve the problem is to get the positions filled. And the best way to get the position filled is to recognize that this is one article where besides the COLA, you need the extra bump. Because there'll be a later one that I'm not gonna support, because we're not down people. But this is a chronic problem. I think the way to solve it is to get the right people on board, and then the town who is trying to manage things won't have to be trying to get contractors to come in to plow, trying to do this, trying to do that when the roads are getting icy. Let's fix the problem right.
Other comments?
Go to vote.
I agree with Bill.
Those in favor of recommending Article 10?
Okay, I got it.
Opposed? Eight, three.
I don't know where that's coming from.
Okay, a similar article for the fire department. Here, it's full-time fire and rescue personnel, employees, an average of $1.50 per hour increase. And that again is in addition to the COLA. Want to put it on the table first?
I thought we had to make a motion, we had to make. a
That's what I
motion
just
for
said.
that.
That's what I meant by put it on the table.
Oh,
Make a motion to recommend Article 11 for the fire department wage adjustment.
second,
Okay. Neil?
I can't support this for two reasons. First of all, this means these folks are getting an 11% increase, 5 under the article for the COLA, and then 6%, approximately 6% here. If this department were down people over a period of time and was struggling to get personnel, maybe this would be a good idea. But the department is fully staffed, the person comes, but they pick someone up. The person leaves, but they get somebody to replace him or her. So there's no urgency to do anything here as there was arguably, or even I agree with that, under Article 9. We have to do something, the question was how to do it. Here, there's nothing that has to be done, so why are we giving these folks a significant increase? I don't understand that. One other thing that you should know is when the selectmen first considered this, they said they were hesitant about it, but they said, okay, let's put it on the warrant and let the voters decide. And then, and I don't think they realized they did this, the motion to do so was to recommend the article. Their original concept was, let's just put it before the voters so it would have no recommendation. The selectmen wouldn't say anything about it, voters could decide. But the way they conducted the meeting, and I think they were not aware of this, they in fact voted to recommend this article, and that's what it says here. That's just an aside. I think this article is an unnecessary expenditure of taxpayers' money.
If I may add, I agree with Neil that it just seems like there's a lot of increases, and that it's not necessary because it is fully staffed, and there doesn't seem to be any turnover issues or retention.
So, again, the 5% COLA increase applies to these folks as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Go
I
ahead.
vote, I'm against this because I think 5% increase is a good step. That's why I voted against the DPW as well, for the same reason that they're included in that, so. The discussion about this was very topsy-turvy. It went from 6% to $1.50, which is roughly 6%, and I didn't get a good feeling from this that it was thought out well enough. And especially with the selectmen taking over the fire department, Board of Fire Awards, I just didn't feel like, why I didn't like the full-time chief article either, which got taken off. I just generally just don't support this. I don't think it's a problem that needs to be solved right now. And also, if I could say, if you're following in the spreadsheet, I had the old number in the, it was a higher number before, it's 22993, so if you have the spreadsheet, you might want to correct that, on the, if all articles pass column. It brings it down from 4 cents to 2 cents, so.
Which column?
Fire department raises changed, and I didn't update it, in the all articles pass.
Okay, fire department.
So it's
What's it supposed to be?
It's
Right
2
there,
cents.
2.
9.9.
2.993. And it's reflected in the document here as 2 cents, but my spreadsheet, I hadn't updated that one, I missed it. So,
Other comments before we vote on this?
I just got one time. Yeah, I don't support the article, but I did on the previous, but this one here, like I said, positions are filled. They also have 3 per diem positions that they can draw from if they're down people. So the 5% they're getting in the other article across the board is sufficient.
Others?
My question was answered.
Can't hear you.
I had a question, but it was already answered.
Okay.
Call for a vote.
Carrie, do you have,
No, I don't have a question. I was,
okay, all those,
motion to recommend Article 11,
right.
fire department raises.
Second.
Oh, we already had the motion, didn't we?
We're in a motion already?
So now are we
Sorry.
voting?
Wasn't sure.
I'm sorry, I'm really a klutz tonight on putting this together, but this recommend, not recommend, and then reverse language really gets me
If it fails,
screwed
you
up.
All in ayes.
If it fails, you have to do
The
that.
For supporting it?
motion before us is to recommend the article.
Recommend the article. All those in favor, raise your hand.
that's a good one.
That was an easy one.
No, it's,
Now you have to do the other.
Opposed, you don't really have to do because we're, everybody,
Everybody opposed.
it was unanimous.
You never know, somebody might abstain.
now we motion to not recommend, correct?
We just had that.
No.
No, we vetoed to recommend, now we have to not
So
recommend.
I
need a
motion to
positive.
not recommend this article.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor of not recommending this article? I really think we ought to look at this procedure next year. But you look at it next year, I
And we're
won't be
not
here.
even doing anything.
Is that 11-0?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have a negative opinion then. Okay, good. Next.
Full-time library position. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $10,221, representing the cost of turning one part-time library staff position into a full-time library staff position?
Make a motion to recommend.
Second. We're
Neil?
getting good at this.
I looked into this a bit and asked the director to give me position descriptions of the library director and the assistant director, and he did. The library director position, among other things, has certain kinds of requirements, physical requirements, knowledge and skill requirements, and minimum qualifications, masters with an ALA, American Library Association, accredited institution, etc. There are no such requirements for the assistant director. I don't think we need an assistant director as a formal position. What happened in the past, when Mike Sullivan was librarian, and he died suddenly at age 51, it took us a while to hire Clay, and during that interim, one of the part-time people, we have a full-time children's librarian, a full-time director, and everyone else is part-time. At that time, another of the part-time people, who I believe had an advanced library degree, but was part-time, she was an older woman, and that's what she wanted. She became acting director as a part-timer, and was able to fill the job and take care of it. If Clay were for some reason to be unable to serve or leave, one of the staff could do the same thing. assume the position. But they would not be as well qualified as Thelma, the original part-timer, because she had all sorts of experience as a librarian. But making one of our existing people acting director on a full-time basis doesn't change the fact that there are no qualifications. The town is not getting any benefit from making this a full-time position, because there's no proposal to go out and hire somebody who has the qualifications to be an acting director. So for that reason, I will not be supporting this.
I just like to clarify something from the other night. I was confused when this was presented because I had thought that Thelma was a full-time employee. And she wasn't, she was part-time. So I was thinking this would be somebody to move into her slot as a full-time assistant director. And that was clarified at the public hearing, that that was not the case, that that was a part-time position, and that this would be a change to make the assistant director a full-time position. So that's a difference in, you know, what you're describing as the assistant director doing a good job as a part-timer is accurate. Yes.
Something that was brought up at the meeting is that, is Clay, is that his name?
Yes.
Clay,
Felt that this employee deserved to be full-time, and I don't disagree in rewarding employees, but when you start creating a position and putting people into full-time positions just because you want to give them something more, you're talking insurance, you're talking a lot of things that are added out on the town side of things. And right now, until everybody's got qualifications and we see the need, we can very definitely handle bumping up things in that library with part-time positions as opposed to acquiring more full-time employee costs.
I agree with that. I feel as though if there's no added credentials to justify the increase, then it really doesn't change the effect on the town, and it would actually be a negative effect because we would be paying more for the same thing.
he, in fairness to Clay, he did, because they had asked him that, they have had increased, he cited us, I don't have the specific numbers, but the increased use of the library, and how he felt that adding, I think this position would add 6 hours. It would give him another body in there for 6 hours, but to Laurie's point, you could add another part-time employee if necessary without incurring the costs of the full-time position.
Now, the question I would have with that is, to add an employee, even part-time, would we have to have a warrant article?
No, we do.
For a part-timer?
I don't know.
Aren't they their own entity?
Naomi?
What?
If the town wants to create a new part-time position, does that have to go on the warrant?
For the library.
No.
But the
Okay,
library-
Library governed by trustees.
Governed by trustees.
So they do what they want, they have their own trusteeship.
support and take care of the library.
Okay.
So yeah, they can do it.
They'd have to take it out of their budget to do that.
Yes.
I have a question based on what you had mentioned. I wasn't at the public hearing, but you said it would add 6 hours?
I think, yeah, Clay said
Yes.
he would, it's a part-time position now, and Clay said that it would add, I'm almost certain that
Yeah.
it was
6
6
hours. It
hours.
was 6.
6 hours he would add for the position to
It
make
would
it an
go from
assistant.
32 to 38.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so they're not at 20, when I think part-time, I think 20 hours per week, so they're,
That's the reason.
is there, there's been increased use at the library, but is there enough increase in workload to account for those 6 hours?
I can't substantiate. I can just say he cited
just-
numbers. He's,
Okay.
he did have supporting comments that increased utilization, flow.
But his main driver was he wanted to reward.
I don't know, he didn't say that.
He did.
Yeah.
Did he say that?
Yes, he did.
He did? Okay, I'm mistaken.
And this person is included in the COLA?
Yes,
No,
That was my
yes.
question.
yes.
Elizabeth has a second.
And my understanding is that they can use private funds from raising to also bring this person full-time versus taking it from taxpayer dollars.
That would make sense, yeah. Okay.
So if they wanted to go ahead and still offer full-time to this employee, they could just use private funds under their endowment or whatever
I thought I had Clay's sheet here, but I don't seem to.
I don't know. We're getting in a weeds. Yeah.
Do you want to vote? Do you want to beat it up some more?
I want, anybody else who wants to comment should have a chance to comment. So that's the rate I was going on.
I think we're ready to vote. On this side we are anyways.
Yeah.
Took a straw poll and we're ready to vote.
I was as the team captain.
You got it.
Okay. All those,
Motion is to recommend.
who recommend, I get that. It's when we do it the opposite that I get the, Article 12, that's what I was looking for. Those in favor of recommending Article 12? Those opposed to recommending Article 12?
Okay.
Those in favor of not recommending Article 12? If we
Oh,
must
do we
do
need a
this.
motion and a second?
Motion.
No,
Yeah,
we already-
motion to not
Yeah.
motion to not recommend Article 12.
Second.
Third, fourth,
All those in favor of not recommending Article 12?
Whoever invented that, I don't know, but Neil, probably you.
Is that a Robert's rule? That you have to have a positive vote?
I don't want to bring Lori into this, but that's another matter.
That's Bob's rule. Whatever Bob is.
Robert's
So
young.
we are,
Moving on to Article 13.
did we
Police
just,
cruiser.
did we actually, was that unanimous?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
unanimous
all
is a
right,
no.
good, I don't have to. Okay, I always want to make sure I catch all the,
All right, make a motion to recommend Article 13 for the police cruiser.
Second. Oh, we'll give it to Tom. Oh, Neil?
Spread the love.
Well, I think that, I don't think, I know that Chief has really done all he could in the last year to go out for grants and bring in money that is not taxpayer money for various equipment. And here even, there's an offsetting amount that does not come out of the fund balance, but comes out of money that the department has taken in. I think it's, well, you can read it as well as I can, but, so it brings the amount anyways down from 81,690 to 46,690, which is quite an accomplishment. And you should be aware also that the chief has been trying for several years to include two vehicles, what would include a command vehicle, and he was able to get a grant that totally covered the cost of a command vehicle, which has nothing to do with this patrol car or taxation. So I just give him a lot of credit for the fact that he's gone out and sought out these grants during the last year. That says I support the article. Other comments?
I'll jump in.
Uh,
Go ahead, Tom.
I'm in, you know, I like the chief's planning, what he does with the cars over years, and, I like getting away from the Dodge Chargers, getting more into the off-road. But I'm looking ahead at other things that I really think are critical, and trying to stay below a certain percent overall, so I'm looking ahead, and, you know, it's unfortunate, but to me, this is something that has to be bypassed, so. You know, I support the idea, but I don't support the cost.
Yes,
so,
Bill?
you know,
I don't support the article, but my reason was a little different, and last year I said the same thing. I think that the number of cruises, as stated in an allowance, is above what is really needed. They've been operating over there right now without a Dodge Charger. I don't know for how long, but it's been months, I believe, because it has a transmission. So it's sitting there like Anka metal.
Using the command vehicle as the.
I don't know, but they've been conducting patrols. I haven't, with the vehicles without that one. If this article is approved, the one that's a pile of junk will be accessed, and this will come in to replace it. But now it will be a patrol vehicle to join the fleet, which has been operating, I believe, adequately with the existing ones that are there.
Didn't the chief tell us that if this article weren't approved, he would have to spend $4,600 on a transmission?
That was the other, the option, that's what was stated, yes, I heard
But
that.
here's the other question.
Go ahead.
We have a fund where they use the cruisers for,
Dam patrol.
thank you,
Details.
details. And some of that money is supposed to go into maintaining these vehicles, and for some reason, it hasn't been doing that, which is why we have extra money, and it has something to do with the next article we're gonna roll into. But there is money.
But he's taken that money out of that fund to pay for this. That's why the article only costs $46,000.
Yeah, that along with money that comes into the department for patrolling the
Details.
club stop.
If I could clarify, maybe I'll speak for you for a second. I think Laurie's saying if this doesn't pass, they could use that money to pay for the transmission.
Yes.
I see.
The other point I'm making is, they had a Ford Explorer sitting there, which is now gonna go with the grant vehicle that came rolling in. So they have a command vehicle over there, which I believe has just arrived, if I'm not mistaken. And I think you can see it, I think it's down getting its undercoating. But anyway, that's there. That's a command vehicle, which, when I asked the selectmen, it can be used on patrol if really needed. If really- So, based on the inventory you have today and what you would potentially have, you have a command vehicle coming in that can also add to the flexibility to conduct patrols if needed. And if this passes, you will have another one coming in to replace the one that's broke with the transmission. And I'm saying, you've been getting by with what you've got, and now you have a command vehicle coming in to give you a little more flexibility. I think you can get by for a year.
Hey,
May I ask?
yeah, go ahead.
Bill, I need to understand what you're saying. We now have 4 online patrol vehicles, right? That are in good shape and they're going out.
You got 5.
I'd have to review the number, total.
But I think he wants 5. We have 5, but one of them, the Dodge Charger, is in bad shape and needs a transmission, and I think it's out of warranty.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so on a temporary basis, he's been using the command vehicle to fill in.
He hasn't had the command vehicle yet, just got here.
The old command.
The old command vehicle.
The Explorer? No, I don't think so. They have another, what they call Command 2, I think.
Right.
And that's the one they're using?
Yeah, they're using that one. How many command vehicles do I know, he said dual,
The chief was very explicit that under the terms of the grant, with exceptions for unusual circumstances, the command vehicle could not become a daily patrol vehicle.
Right, no, normally, yeah, right.
My understanding is that it will remain in position a command vehicle, but it can still be used for patrolling. Even though it will not become a full line, first line patrol vehicle in name, it can be moved into that position as necessary, but it will always remain the command vehicle.
Keep in mind, this is the vehicle he's taking home.
I understand that, but I just want to make sure that we're going to have 5 vehicles, whatever they're called, available to the police on a regular basis so that they will be able to maintain the same coverage we have now without an additional vehicle. Is that, Bill, is that what you're saying?
There's another dimension to that, but
I'm just surprised because, one of your criteria in the past, Bill, has been, if you're gonna bring in another car, get rid of one, right? And so he is, he's getting rid of one of the Dodges.
Yeah, but I've always contended they got
many.
an extra one to
Oh.
start with. Yeah, that's just my opinion.
I just,
Yeah.
I said the same thing last year.
if we didn't get a grant for the command vehicle is more expensive, right? So do we want them using that to patrol when, if they're putting miles on the command vehicle, which is gonna cost us more money than replacing a patrol vehicle, right? That makes sense. What I'm saying,
There will be additional cost to make it a command. to
If
outfit
they,
it to
if they
be a
put
command.
miles on it, then eventually we'll need to replace the command vehicle sooner.
But
Yeah.
the command vehicle is no different from a patrol vehicle in terms of the vehicle itself. What makes it a command vehicle is the stuff you put inside of it.
Okay,
The-
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom?
I think I heard as well that one of the reasons for the complement of cars that the chief wants was to be able to respond to an emergency, put a command vehicle in the inner hall. If a car is trapped inside the inner hub of the emergency, it can't leave, and he wants to be able to have another car to be able to respond to another emergency. It's more of a contingency kind of situation that I heard, and I think for the cost, I'm willing to wait a year for that, in lieu of some other things,
Yeah.
but that's where my mindset is.
The other thing we've got to look at is getting rid of these Dodges.
Yep.
They've been a problem, not only with maintenance, but also, I remember when the chief first proposed whatever it is, the GMC vehicle, Tahoe, Chevy Tahoe. The comparison, the Dodge has no storage room, small trunk, very uncomfortable for sitting in long times. I could barely see over the steering wheel, which is not the case, but I guess there were a couple of little guys in there too. But it just, we went out and looked at them, we went out and sat in the vehicle, we examined the trunk. This was for CIP. And it was so obvious, the shortcomings of that vehicle. And one of the other members of the CIP, who was acquainted with police officers, state police officers, said that they craved to have their old Crown Vics back because they didn't like those vehicles for the same reason. The whole, they're just uncomfortable.
Ergonomic issues.
That's what I was looking for. So I'm in favor of this article for that reason as well as the others that have been stated.
I will also throw out that to throw another, $4,000, $5,000 at an old vehicle to replace a transmission doesn't make any sense to me. To throw that much money into these old vehicles. Now you could say, well, that's only 10% of what we'd be spending on this article, but that's still, this year, 10% of what the new vehicle's gonna cost.
Does anyone know if we were to put a new transmission there, how many years of additional use we would get?
I don't think you can honestly say. I mean, like, we could put a new transmission in this thing and then something else big, the engine or
That's
something, I don't know.
anything.
I'm not
Yeah.
very,
I was thinking that we wouldn't need another article next year.
I would think if we're having, and this isn't the first time this car's had problems, correct? If I remember correctly, I think he had said
They're-
that he
they're
had
all-
multiple issues.
Yeah.
They all have more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
the charges,
so-
charges are all getting to that, so
We've
it could,
got-
yeah, it could be the first one that, it could be the first one out to shoot whenever the voters do want another Tahoe, yeah.
I'm looking at the sheet from the presentation, the town budget presentation. There's 3 Chargers still in line, including this one that's
Right.
out of service.
Right.
And then we have the 2 patrol vehicles that are Tahoes and 2
Correct.
command vehicles, an Explorer and a Charger. So it looks like we have a number of Charger vehicles that we're wanting to get out
Correct,
of service.
that's
I
correct.
think initially there were
Right.
5, I believe.
But
But I
how
mean,
many
we're trying to
vehicles did
replace
you
them.
say right there? How many did you name that we have?
We have, 5 patrols, 1's out of service, and then 2 command vehicles. I do agree
Right.
with the command vehicles, there being 2, for the reason that the chief stated. It does make sense to have,
Inner and outer, whatever it was,
or,
yeah, I think is what he was saying. But yeah, I just checked it as well. You got the 4 charges, one of which is OOC, you got Tahoe in 21, you got a Tahoe in 23, and you'd have this new Tahoe. So you,
And another thing, oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, go ahead.
And another thing that he did mention that I did write down was that the Tahoes they are 8 cylinders, but when they're idling, they switch down to 4. So they're actually more efficient and saving engine life, was what I understood out of it.
I'm against the article. We have enough vehicles to say we need a backup command vehicle so that we can have one on site. And when we have had so many of those issues in this town. We haven't had that many issues that requires command vehicle here, command vehicle there. You're looking at a serious event for that.
Well,
I'm speaking.
yeah, okay. Bossy.
And I'm learning. And when you look at the cost of, I know we're supposed to look at each article, and I am, but I'm also rattling up in my head the cost we're going to have to be looking at the end of this. And I'm looking at what this next article after this is proposing. I can't back this article, because this next article takes cruisers out of our hands.
No, it doesn't.
The use
No,
of
it
these
doesn't.
funds to offset the purchase of a cruiser must be approved at town meeting. Last sentence.
Yeah.
Oh, so they did add that.
They did.
Yes. But I definitely think we can wait until next year.
I agree. Yeah, I don't approve this article or support it. I think that we have enough cruisers, and if the chief is taking home a cruiser, and if there's, they really need an extra one, then he can just get picked up and leave the cruiser or get another vehicle. I don't know. I just don't think that we need
I
an
don't-
extra
yeah,
cruiser.
Does anyone remember if we approved, the finance committee recommended a vehicle and we bought a vehicle last year?
We, it,
We did or did not?
it did not pass last year, as I recall. Our recommendation was, if you bear with me, somebody else can talk while I'm looking.
No, we like to watch it.
You like, I'm trying to look at what article it was. It was probably back here.
So, while you're looking at,
Yeah.
specifically to the point of the police chief, I believe that's in his contract to have a vehicle to take back and forth for commuting. So,
But it doesn't need to be the command vehicle.
it doesn't necessarily have to be, but the point is that, he does have something in his contract.
So if we fixed up the transmission on the Charger, the chief would
Yeah.
take that?
He could, yeah. He's been driving, what, the Explorer? I don't know. I don't know. I don't,
Two things
didn't
I'd
get
like
into
to
the
just
details
Go
of
my
what
2
that
cents
was.
in, 2 things, 2 cents. One is, I think that this chief has done a good job of spelling out the needs and sticking to a plan to rotate in vehicles so that he can get the old ones out and replace them with more usable vehicles. The other thing about the use and need for the command vehicle, I mean, when this shooting happened in Lewiston, Maine, and then we have a shooting that happens in Concord, New Hampshire at the state hospital, that's what command vehicles are about and for, and you don't know what's gonna happen at our high school or other facilities in town. We can't assume that we live in a safer world than these other communities. And that the command vehicle, police chief was more eloquent than I can be on this because he's had the experience. He talked about, what it would involve if there was an incident, say, at John Stark, and the use of the command vehicle in that type of an incident. So I am 100% in favor of this article.
And last year, we recommended the article to, 7-1. We recommended it, but it didn't pass, as I recall. So,
What article was that?
last year, it would have been Article 10.
10 passed according to this.
Well,
I'm looking at the
I got the right year.
election results for 2023.
2023.
The money came from ARPA,
Oh,
Who?
the federal government
Oh,
money.
there was no
Thank
money
you.
involved?
yeah.
I'll read it if you don't. Shall the town raise and appropriate $78,010 for the purchase of one fully equipped frontline police cruiser. I'm sorry, with $30,000 to come from ARPA.
Yeah,
and the
48.
remaining $48,000 to come from taxation. And it
Okay.
passed.
So it did. So
they got a
that's the
cruiser.
second, that's
Frontline cruiser last year.
And it was recommended by the finance committee.
7-1.
And it passed.
Yep.
It did pass? Okay. Yeah, usually I put
Yeah,
that in
They
there.
were behind on their allocation, and we felt like.
Okay, are we close enough to take a vote on this? All those in favor of recommending Article 13 for the police cruiser, please raise your hand. Those opposed? Wait a minute, Harry.
Okay,
What's our total?
failed. 5 to 6.
It failed or
It
passed?
didn't pass, no.
Move we
Okay.
not recommend Article 13.
Second. I think. Wait, so now we want to vote to not recommend the article, correct?
Right.
All in favor of not recommend?
No,
No.
Tom's
Chair,
the
that's the
chairman.
chair.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I hate to say it, though. Those in favor of not recommending the article? Those opposed to not recommending the article?
What's the count?
6 against, 5 for.
So not recommend 6-5.
Yep.
Okay.
Motion
I
passes.
think I got enough. Need,
This is
on
one
the,
that I
Motion
might
to not
bring
recommend.
up again as we near the end of our process, because I think it's a true need.
need to replace chargers.
Article 13 to 14.
Article 14. I'm
Make
not
the motion to recommend Article 14.
Second.
Police revolving fund.
I am totally, completely, 100% against this article. And I'll
Why
tell
don't you
why.
start out by telling us why?
Well, because when I was talking to Neil a few minutes ago, and I said, you know, that we lose the right to vote on the cruiser, and he said, nope, it's in this, and it does say that these funds to offset the purchase of a cruiser must be approved by town meeting. But what it doesn't say, and it is a problem for me, says for the purpose of outfitting, maintaining police vehicles and other safety equipment as needed. That other safety equipment is not included as in that same line that says must be approved by town meeting, and I have real concerns about that.
I share those concerns. This is another special fund that's being created of money that is available to the town now, as it was in Article 13, because the same funds that are being tapped in Article 14 were tapped in Article 13 to help pay for that cruiser. What this does is to create another separate article where power is taken away from voters and given to the Board of Selectmen. That bothers me because in the town meeting form of government, I expect as a voter to make these kinds of decisions and not give that authority away to another body, in this case, the selectmen. They would have to hold a hearing and the police chief would have to approve. But the kinds of things that you could use these funds for would be outside of the normal budget. So if we think that tasers or guns or any kind of equipment that's appropriate for a budget, not a capital budget, but for an operating budget, and should be in the operating budget, we as a committee, the voters could make a decision whether they want it or not, that would be taken out of our hands. The money would be available, now it's available to us as voters, but under this article, it would only be available to the selectmen and the police chief to do all of these things. I just don't like that idea. It's not what I consider, it's anti-town meeting.
Yes.
I have furthermore, it only specifies a cruiser. That,
That's
the way I read this, the police chief could potentially use this money to buy other things
Yes.
No?
No, but they wouldn't have to come back to us, so if they wanna buy a helicopter, they could do that without coming to us.
This is gonna be changed, this article.
I'm sorry,
This is gonna be changed at legal. We've already gotten some way in from DRA.
but
Yeah.
we're having to make our recommendations now.
Well, that's not your final wording, that's all I'm telling you.
Do we change this? Do we have a right to change this before something?
One more Monday night
Oh.
to
They do.
finalize all articles.
Do we have the right to change our votes before then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we can change
Well,
it
that's-
afterwards.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying it saved you a few minutes discussing this article, when you see new words next week, you
Yeah.
now have to have
Or-
another discussion.
Or we hold off on this one, we can do up all the recommendations, you know, the blurbs,
Yeah.
except for this article. Next week when we come in, we'll have a final answer, and then I clean that one up and shoot it to you before.
I think that
before
makes
the-
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not,
that
not
makes
to
sense.
prolong the discussion on it, but my problem with this, I think it's still confusing. That it needs to be straightened out because it's not gonna pass muster with voters anyways, in my opinion, because it's just confusing. The police chief explained it, and it was kinda clear when he explained it, but it, as worded, it's just too
But it did get
confusing.
sent to DRA and legal, and that one has come back not accepted, so we're gonna have to do some work on that.
Could someone review our timeline? We're having another meeting next Wednesday, the 31st.
And then you
Yep.
have all your deliberations and stuff.
Yeah, Naomi also said, I was gonna bring this up later, but February 6th is available, that we could use, like, to reword things. We have to make decisions before,
When's the deliberative session?
our deliberative session is on the
You
3rd.
have to finish yours next week.
Yeah.
But then, it's in between deliberative sessions. But a lot of times, even after the deliberative session, we've tinkered with the wording
Yeah.
for the mailer. So if we want the room is available on February 6th, which would be the Tuesday before the school deliberative sessions.
I hope you take the room and at least have
It
the ability
available.
to call a
Yeah.
meeting, because if something happens at the deliberative session and we want to go back and review,
Yeah.
we need the opportunity to do
Yeah,
that.
that would be a-
Could do that at the deliberative session, because generally that's a meeting
A meeting.
for us.
Right.
Even though it's occurring during the deliberative session, and we could act there. It's sort of hectic, and it wouldn't be our best effort.
Well, we could also look at changes that are made to articles at the deliberative session and come back and review whether we want to change our recommendations on them.
Right.
So I think we should reserve that as a meeting date, February 6th.
Question?
Tom,
Could I ask Naomi a question?
sure. If she wants to answer you,
Well, yeah, I'm just the chair's prerogative, but
yeah.
is there gonna be another public hearing on the changed version? No? Okay.
So just, we continued, as you know. We started out on the 15th, got all the way to 20-something, and then we continued to last Monday. So this coming Monday, we're at the final hour.
Yep.
So I took what you're looking at and sent it over to DRA and legal. They're gonna come back with responses, because we don't want to go to town meeting with an illegal article or DRA that something's gonna be disallowed and waste everyone's time. So, that one there, I know, so all I did was say, hold on, you're gonna see new words after Monday. So, next Wednesday, you guys are gonna see the final signed warrant. It'll be signed on the back. This one's not signed, it only says final after Monday night, so that I could at least send it off to DRA and legal.
Okay.
Then you'll see the final wording next Wednesday. Unfortunately, we are on a time crunch because Saturday we're having deliberative session, but
Next.
on February 3rd. Yeah.
Second question
Yeah, go ahead.
for the committee, thank you. I was just curious, because I have something I'd like to see in this, but my second question is, there's no financial impact on this, is it something we even recommend?
There is financial impact.
Well, there's money involved, yeah, but there's no tax impact, I should say.
There's no tax impact, but what they're doing is
Reallocating money.
reallocating money, and I
Okay.
think that
And that's,
justifies
Okay.
us.
Wasn't 100% sure if that was on one side.
Yeah, I'm not either, Tom.
Reallocating potential
but
income.
We can go ahead and make a decision, or else we can postpone it like was recommended here until we see what the legal and DRA says about it, because maybe it's a non-issue if the article doesn't pass muster.
Yep, skip it for now.
Yeah.
All right, Article 15, cable funds from franchise agreement. It's pretty straightforward, and it has happened before. It's what finances our cable, which is really expanded to internet, as far as, you know, the use of YouTube and so forth. I don't know if people still watch Channel 6 for this.
Somebody does, they grumble about it on Facebook.
That's not from the franchise fee.
That-
$30,000 was we signed a new agreement.
I'm sorry, say that. It's not from the franchise fee?
So the $30,000 that you're looking at is, we had a public hearing to renew for 7 years the Comcast agreement. A part of that renewal was to give $30,000 on top of the monthly franchise fee to be put in the capital reserve for upgraded of equipment. So it's not coming from your franchise fees that go into every
The
month.
franchise agreement, that's what it
Comes
says
from the
agree.
agreement that we signed for 7 years.
Okay.
Question? The franchise fee, how much is that and where does that go?
Goes in the general fund, I have no idea how much it is. I mean, every month, it depends on its subscribers.
So much per.
So we get a check every month, and it goes into your revenues.
Okay.
It's not, I'm sure we could find it for you, and we'll have that available for you, but it's based on, you know, the subscribers and things like that, and that goes into your revenue of your $4 million that you used earlier in the article.
And if this article were defeated, what would happen to the $30,000?
It's gonna sit in the undesignated fund balance, because it's already committed to be used for something, for that. You can't take the $30,000 of an agreement and leave it there for offset your taxes when the agreement said you're gonna get $30,000 to upgrade the cable equipment. It'll sit there.
Restricted?
Why would, we signed an agreement with a reason that we were gonna get $30,000 to be able to upgrade equipment, right?
I didn't understand that. I thought we were getting $30,000.
We've already got the 30,000, similar to the House Bill 2 articles. They're sitting in the,
$30,000 was sort of an incentive for the town to sign the agreement and give Comcast all.
well, it was enough of a incentive, we signed it, and we got the check already, it's sitting in the balance.
Done deal.
It's
I
done.
understand that. I'm saying that if the money was given to us for an express purpose, which is what I hear you say, that's different from what I thought it was, which was an inducement to be used by the town for any purpose, but an inducement for them to go with Comcast as opposed to Jones or AT&T.
No, there's so many drops that we get, there's gonna be another drop put in another building. There was things that we wanted out of signing the contract.
So all of this money.
And there's been discussion, Neil, of putting, as we all look at the calendar, we're pigeoning into this one room. The goal would be to set up something similar to this upstairs so that we don't have to jam around and squeeze and have meetings, that we could set up to be done and have a meeting upstairs that could also be live at the same time you're downstairs. We don't have that equipment right now, we don't have that ability right now.
So what you're telling me is that we have a legal obligation under our contract with Comcast to use this money for specific cable or.
I'm not sure about a legal, but I think it was the right thing when they signed. The obligation was that we would get money to upgrade our equipment. And as you know, we've been trying to upgrade, we've been black. The screen's been black.
Let me try to get to my issue a different way. Who has the authority to spend this $30,000, which now will go into the cable TV access capital reserve fund?
The cable committee always comes forward with requests, it goes in a capital reserve fund, so they would come together with a request for buy equipment. The selectmen would approve the authorization to buy the equipment per the purchasing policy, and then they would upgrade.
So
Yeah.
this is no different from Article 14 with respect to the police, to the extent that it is the selectmen as agents to expend, who have the authority to spend this money without further involvement by taxpayers.
But that's,
But that's by state law how the capital reserve
Yeah.
funds
Right,
work.
I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
wanna make
It's
sure.
just going into one that we've had for a long time since they've been in
But you're
town.
also telling me that we could legally, we haven't done it in the past, but we could legally take this money and put it in the general fund.
That's where it's sitting right now.
I know, but it could stay there. It doesn't have to go to the capital reserve fund.
Right, but it wouldn't necessarily be used to offset your taxes either. We'd just try to put another article on next year. Just saying. I'm being honest about it, because it came into us as an unanticipated revenue. We held a public hearing, we talked about what we were gonna do and what we were getting out of this agreement. At that time, that $30,000 was discussed, there was cable drops discussed, there was other things discussed. So the 30,000 comes into us, so it's sitting in the undesignated fund balance, and be able to move it, we have to ask town meeting to take it out of the undesignated fund balance, even though we've got a tag next to it that we know that it's cable money.
If this were amended at the deliberative session and passed by the voters at the voting session to say this money should go into the general fund and be used to offset taxes, would that be legal?
I don't know, I don't play lawyer, so I honestly don't know, Neil. I'm just saying, that would be a question, we will have legal counsel there, but it's already sitting in the fund
But
balance.
it's not, it's sitting in the fund but not being used as revenue for purposes of reducing taxes.
Yes, and it would just sit there again.
Yep, unless the voters amended this and chose.
But then what are you gonna do with, we can have that discussion another time.
I don't believe we've had a motion to recommend.
No, we don't, but I was waiting for one.
Right. So recommended.
Second.
Any other comments on this? One of the things that I'd like to point out is that we've had upgrades, we should continue to have upgrades. For example, whenever anything is broadcast now, like it's really, it's live as well as available later on YouTube. And what Naomi said about needing an additional meeting space, look how we have to juggle things between planning board and conservation and ZBA in order to fit meetings with just this group in. With the upstairs or some other site available to broadcast simultaneously, it would just make it so much easier, not just for the finance committee, but as far as any meeting that has to be canceled and made up. You know, this is a very overused little room here. Tom?
I think Neil's line of questioning is solid though, because there's a lot of money coming in the funnel and then going out to other places and allocated, which is sometimes good. And knowing who controls the money, if that happens, I like the questions because I like to understand it, and I think we got a lot of special funds that could be revenue, and just wanna keep an eye on that.
One of the things we might consider doing is proposing an amendment to Article 13, the police cruiser, which was 6.5, and reduce the cost to $16,000 by taking $30,000 from Article 16 to 15 and using it to support Article 13.
Not convinced we could actually do that, but
We cannot do that, but the deliberative session certainly could do that.
We need to know if that's legal first.
If it's legal.
Yeah.
It doesn't break it.
If
We
we
need
do,
to call
if
the
we do
Department
that
of
kind of
Revenue.
thing, I hope you're still awake on Sunday morning when the deliberative session is still in a continuation state.
Let me enlighten you with one other little bit of information. John Morton, the
I know,
town moderator, is not going to be available, apparently, or at least at this moment, to conduct the deliberative session, and he's asked me to step in.
Well, you've got
So
plenty of
I will not be
experience.
sitting with you folks, I will be sitting behind the podium.
So start writing down everything you said tonight, so we have it.
I have to remain, and I will remain scrupulously neutral.
When you're there, yes, but right now you're not, so we can get every piece of knowledge out of your head to use that night while you stand there with your mouth quiet, other than to say, yes, no, sit, speak.
What I'm saying is you start mixing up two articles, taking one from another, putting them in the other, it's gonna just,
It's going to be
Total
hellacious. Yes,
confusion.
you're right.
okay. Any other comments on recommending this article? If not, all those in favor of recommending Article 15, please raise your hand. You got it? Those opposed to recommending Article 15? Four.
What did you vote? Sorry.
I voted for it.
Okay.
And the reasons for the no are, give me a bullet or two. I might have missed it.
The money could be better used to offset taxes and reduce the cost of, or to reduce the cost of other expenditures and other articles.
That's if it's allowed, right? Or if it's, okay. I won't belabor that.
That it's legal.
That- Okay. Dollars could,
Also taxes or?
dollars are currently in the general fund earmarked for that at some point, and
Could be used,
could be moved for more,
to reduce taxes by lowering the cost of other essential articles.
could be used to offset the cost of other articles. Could be considered to be used, I don't know, yeah, it's not, could be used, I don't know if it could, I still don't know if it could be used.
May.
Could be
Yeah, maybe.
up for consideration to be
May
used.
may leaves you a lot more questions.
You can make it as,
Okay, as mealy mouthed as you want, okay, I got it, okay,
Yeah, it's definitely iffy.
yeah, yeah.
In the
It's
stratosphere
ambiguous
of
for
life.
me.
All right,
Okay.
we've got a long way to go here yet, so, Article 16,
Make a motion to recommend Article 16 for full-time building inspector.
Second.
okay, has been made and seconded.
If I might, start it off, this is basically correcting a mistake that was made a couple of years ago when our building inspector retired, and they thought they could make it just a part-time, and then they realized, no, they really do have enough work for a full-time inspector. So they're putting them back to what we used to have a couple of years ago.
Under ship committee, right?
we have the rest of the backstory. The rest of the backstory is there was a reorganization in the selectmen's universe. Domain, thank you. And some positions were made full-time, some positions were made part-time. And the selectmen, in this case, are, I would think, by doing this, are trying to expand the number of full-time people when they couldn't get that originally, when they had a full-time building inspector and a part-time, I've forgotten what the other position was. So, I'm leery of doing this. Building at this stage, new construction is really down because of the cost of labor and the cost of materials, and perhaps even the cost of land. I'm not sure, and I would take James' word for it, but I'm not sure that we actually need a full-time building inspector. I haven't heard that. So this is one of those things where we have another full-time position. Well, I need to see much more evidence that this is essential before I'm willing to put tax dollars to it.
Naomi, could you help us out on this as far as the reorganization and why this comes out like it is?
So in 2009, when I was appointed to the town administrator, I was full-time land use coordinator, and at that time, decision was to also give the land use coordinator to Chip for X amount of money. So he was a full-time building inspector and the land use, and he would come to all the meetings. Fast forward, Chip retires. We have a heck of a time deciding, what to do. Land use was up, building was down at the time. I don't remember the years. We reorganized. So we made the land use back full-time, and we swapped building inspector to part-time. Since then, and we don't have a building inspector now, just to let you know.
Oh, he left?
He stayed for 2 months and he's moved on, so now we have a vacancy again. Nobody wants to work part-time because it's a tough thing, again. He moved on, stayed with us for a couple months, found another town, full-time benefits, the whole thing. So, we're back to trying to find somebody, which, again, right now, we're trying to fill in the blanks and borrow from a mutual aid agreement we have with, Goffstown. We have mutual aid agreements for that, for the reason that we can see what we can squeeze hours out of them. Maybe new houses are down, but everybody else is doing things at home. It still needs to be required to be inspected. So that's kind of where we went. We tried this in '21 and it didn't pass. And then in '21, land use left, and the building inspector left at the same time. So we reorganized because, as you all know, it got dropped on my desk on top of everything else because I was doing it, just like Jason doing the, director as well as the mechanic. So hiring, we're trying to funnel cross-training. You don't need to hear all the woes, but one thing I can't do is a building inspector, so. But we just felt, and this is what we're getting from, not everybody in this room builds, but when you call for an inspection and we only have somebody a few days a week, and you tell them once that spot fills up, sorry, we can't get you for 2 weeks, you're holding up contractors who have to tightly schedule to get a house done and buttoned up. So it's a, we hear it and it's happening, whether it gets out there or not. But when you tell somebody that it's 2 weeks out from an inspection because I only have this person so many hours, and I'm sorry, it's not until 2 weeks from today because I only have them a couple days a week. That's kind of why the decision was to move forward. And, we have, like I said, we lost one after 2 months now, so we're back to nobody.
Is it possible to contract these services, or is that not allowed?
We can, I believe, but then it's just, this is my opinion only, I've never really looked into it, but that person would come with insurance, have to get a binder for what he's doing. And the same thing, a lot of contracted people we don't contract for a lot of reasons, and then, so, let's fast forward, and he does some inspections for us, and the house falls down. They're gonna come after the town, they're not gonna know he's contracted, and now he skipped town and took his insurance. You know what I mean? There's just a lot I've never looked at that way. I don't know. I know there's a lot, just like if you go on the municipal association, there's a lot of building inspector positions open. It's just a revolving door.
29,000?
That's being added to the part-time money that's there.
Okay.
So that would be in addition to what we have in your budget line for the part-timer. That would include a full-time wage and benefits, that $29,000.
So what would be the full-time, approximately?
30.
Fine.
That's something that came up in public hearings.
Well, I think they've answered the question. It looks like 52,853, or is that not the case?
That sounds about right,
What you're making.
Because it says, if this article is approved, this would become
Okay,
part
I
of
see.
the
It's up-
budget.
So,
Yeah, it's on the next
that would be
page.
that'd be the total compensation.
Isn't that too low?
I'm sorry, what?
That can't be.
That's the increase by half.
But that's the increase.
Oh, they're still coming.
9 months?
See, this article is, and there was another article
Depends on
from
how
the
it's worded.
librarian, which has the same problem. It
Nine
talks
months.
about the increase, not the cost of the full job for the full year. So it made it seem as though the position was very inexpensive. Gee, $52,000 for a full-time building inspector with $20,000 of insurance, that's $15 an hour. Wow, he's being paid less than the folks who work for the highway department.
Right.
So,
It says in addition to,
right.
so you have to
what's-
read.
But the problem is that we as voters
Voters
don't know what the addition to is unless you put it in the article.
On the second page, it tells you.
No, it does.
Am I not finding it?
The annual cost is 52,800,
Yeah, that's the additional
additional
annual
annual
cost.
cost, yeah.
That's not the total annual
Or
cost.
we can make that specific.
Well, no, the selectmen control that.
So the total annual cost would be the
How much?
52 in addition to, if you look on your nice little booklet on page 15 in the breakdown, it's got the salary, part-time.
What line? The code enforcement?
Inspector salary. I can do it better with a calculator, I think.
Pieces of paper.
Yeah, it says code enforcement on page 15, bottom of the page. Line
Building assistant on line
367.
367?
I think that includes Tony as well, because Tony's a part-time code enforcement.
Line 367 mentions the word building assistant, is that?
We
the-
have a secretary that's half-time.
Okay, so where is the part-time building inspector? 42,834? 42,834.
Line 366, is that
No, that's code enforcement.
inspector?
That's just a fill-in.
That's different.
That's
So I think if you, it's combination, Neil, if you go back to page 12, there's a land use wages assistant. So between that number and the building assistant, that is a full-time job, so it's 20 and 20. And then if you look at the coordinator, wages/coordinator, I believe that is probably Tony. It's a
I think it's a
part-time,
difference.
25 hours a week, where the code enforcement,
It's a difference, it's not the total
I'm
cost.
sorry, Naomi, I'm just not following these.
If
My
something
point
added to
is
this,
that
they're not telling us.
this article doesn't indicate to the voters the full cost of this position. It's important, I think, that you say it's in addition to what we're already spending, but you've got to
Does it
give
not
us the
say in
bottom
addition?
line, and it doesn't have that.
does it not say adding to, or?
What do you want, the cookies?
Cookie.
Just say
Right,
cookie.
I mean,
Cookies.
I guess,
Like
Neil, I'll
Oscar.
tell you, I hear you, and we still haven't written our purposes either.
Dinner.
No, but it has to be in the article.
I don't know why in the article.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, I don't know that it has to. The question is, do you want to make part-time to full-time? That's the question, and the rest is information as far as this is how much it costs annually for somebody.
Selectmen talked about potentially putting it in their blurb.
In the purpose, yes.
Yeah, but there's no guarantee of that. Or you have to read that
Right,
in conjunction.
Well, to your point, for the voters to understand how this works when they're voting on this stuff, if the selectmen choose not to put that verbiage in, the voters are seeing a much different cost than what the reality is.
correct.
But at the same time, we all put our information in the mailer, so I'm not sure, I can respectfully disagree. If you're gonna get the mailer and you're gonna read it, you're gonna have the article, you're gonna have the purpose from the selectmen, you're gonna have your recommendation, and you're gonna have your purpose. So if you take the voter,
A lot of stuff now.
well, I'm just saying, you say there's not information out there, I don't know what else I can do but rent a flashing billboard some days.
No, you can change this article so that the
But-
full cost is in the article.
Okay,
and not
you know,
in-
I'm not gonna waste enough time.
We can talk about it all night, we can't make it happen.
Are we doing anything with this?
So do we wanna put that information in our mail, in our.
Tom, I can't hear you.
I would, what I would intend on putting in our mailer is to say, the cost in the article reflects the added cost to the current, to change this from a part-time to a full-time position with benefits.
But you
That's
need to give
they
them
they don't, they don't need to know how much it is, the total, how much it's totally gonna cost, because they're already paying that for what's there now. You're telling them hey, if you wanna make this full-time, it's gonna cost you $52,000 to go from part-time to full-time and add benefits to the position. Do you wanna do that, 52,000, or do you wanna go the
I'd
way it
like
is
to know
now?
what he's getting now, so I know what my total cost is. I mean,
$30 an hour, 25 hours a week.
and that needs to be in the article.
Because they'll be stunned the following year.
All right, okay,
If people want money from me, I wanna know all the facts.
Well, you already given them the money, you wanna tell them that they're
Well,
already
this
given.
is going to go again for examination by legal and by DRA, so, yeah, so you might have to redo it. But,
No, but this is,
what I'm looking at is, my opinion, as far as what we're discussing here, is there a need? In my opinion, there is a need. So as far as what the wording has to be, if it has to be cleaned up by the selectmen in order to satisfy DRA or pass legal, then that's what's coming for them next Monday, I believe. But-
So you're looking for three numbers in every warrant article like that?
yes, I am.
Okay, and that's not gonna cause confusion? I'm just asking. You want three numbers?
I want to know the total when I vote on on a new position, I want to know the total cost of that position, not the additional cost. I want to know the total cost. The additional cost is very important, but it's the total cost of the position that I'm committing to for the next so many years.
Okay. So you're looking for the three numbers?
Yes.
Okay, let's vote. Those in favor of making the building inspector full-time, raise your hand. Got it?
Yeah, it's 10-1.
Those who are not in favor?
$8.
Zoning item one.
Okay,
I would like to say, though, that in our reasoning, I'd like to mention that this is a cost beyond what is already being paid for the part-time, so that people are aware of that, whether it matters to them or not, to know that there's and if we get a
Cost
number,
above
we
and
can,
beyond.
we could put that number in if we get it, but either way, I think we should mention that
Yes.
this is not a flat cost, this is an above and beyond the existing cost. And I think Neil's point is correct in at least identifying that.
Okay. Neil, was there something else besides just the identifying the full
Yes,
cost?
I'm not persuaded that we
You
need
need
a
it?
full-time
Okay.
building inspector.
Not needed, okay, that's
With
good.
housing, with at least the new market, housing slowing down.
Okay, got it.
And the fact that folks have to wait a little while for permission is going to be the same. It may be a shorter period of time, but it's going to be the same with a new building inspector.
Okay.
The 2 weeks may go to 1 week, but it's not going to be instantaneous.
okay, the 10-wheeler, and note here that there's a, you want to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend Article 17 for the 10-wheeler.
Second.
Got it down now.
And if you look closely at the wording of this, there is $79,797.36 to help offset the cost. And that came from Senate Bill 2, which was for road reconstruction money.
Should be House bill.
Pardon me?
Should be House bill, does it say so?
House bill, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it says
It
House
says
bill.
That's House bill.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it does say House bill. I just, bringing the cost for taxation down to $200,202.64.
Only.
James, what's the argument in favor of this? Why can't this be delayed in the same way that the cruiser purchase was delayed?
We need trucks.
Well, I was one in favor of the police cruiser, but part of that is to continue the replacement of the aging and decrepit vehicles, reduce maintenance costs, and to maintain the workability of our fleet, so that we do not have vehicles that are unusable.
They have two, and I wish I'd brought my CIP folder, which I should have.
I have it.
But I don't, but they,
Carry out.
I think they have two Volvos that are on their last wheels.
One of the issues that we have right now, and part of this is also having the issues that we have with the people, is that if a truck goes down, then another truck has to be taken off its route to pick up and move the old vehicle back in, and then somebody's gonna have to be
The-
working on the vehicle to try to get it back up and running. So during, it just means delayed in cleaning roads, during snow seasons or any other issue that's happening.
It means
You're
if
saying
you,
with a new truck, that would occur less frequently.
yes. Right now, if you have, we'll say, 8 fire trucks on the road, and one of them goes down, one of those employees actually works on the truck, so the truck and the employee are down, which means the other 7 people's routes now get longer because we've had to literally pick up a person in a truck and put it in the garage.
This could actually be down 2
You have
trucks.
what is going to be replaced, Bill?
I would caution which vehicle's being replaced. I think that's, in fact, I went down and talked to the yeah, Jason, and originally it was, they were looking at the 2 Volvo six-wheelers they have down there when they were looking at getting grant funds, which didn't come to fruition. A 2005 and a 2007. When I asked him, is it going to be one of those, he said, possibly, but we're looking, basically, I'm going to look at the worst hunk of junk they got and get rid of that one. But it very well could be one of the Volvos, but both of those are like 18 and 16 years old. They're six-wheelers, they're not 10s, and the only other thing I'll say is at some point, not this year, I don't want to belabor it, but in the future, when you're replacing 6s with 10s, you're getting more efficient use out of them. And you may be able to, in my opinion, get by with,
He didn't buy your.
I know he didn't buy it. That's fine, I'm still going to throw it out there.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But that you, if you can cover more ground, carry more sand,
Yeah.
you can maybe expand your routes and have less trucks needed. Maybe by 1 or 2, I don't know.
We know that the Public Works is down by 6 employees, they're at half level. Is this the year when they need that truck, if they don't have the folks on staff to drive it? Or do some of the temporary employees or the reserve,
I don't-
what they're called, come in and drive those?
I don't want to get into an argument over not buying trucks because we don't have the people, because if you order a truck, you're not going to get it for an extended period of time. So
Yeah,
I would
it's
hope
2
2
years
years.
out.
So by the time we get done, hopefully getting the pay up to where you can hire people, then the truck will come in and we'll have the person there to drive it.
Tom?
Thank you.
Yeah, we bought a truck last year for 241 straight out. This one's an offset with other money, and it's a $40,000 increase between last year and this, 240,000 to 280,000.
Mhm.
And, you know, our trucks are in moderate to bad shape, you know, I think we need to recover a
We
little
bought
bit
new
more.
trucks every year for the past couple of years, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think you put one on every year, and then it was 6 years you didn't get any.
Right. I remember that.
Unfortunately, we were hoping to get a grant from the VW lawsuit,
Right.
we would have paid for this outright, but we didn't get it.
Yeah, almost 2. Well, it would pay for, yeah, would offset the cost.
We would have gotten 2 trucks that would have offset the cost considerably.
Yeah.
But I think we just have to bite and buy one, before they go up another 50,000 next year.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the need versus, and the price, I don't like to make an argument that it's gonna cost more, but
But
in
it
this
is.
case, we're gonna have to buy one anyways next year, I think, if we don't buy one this year.
Right.
That's why I backed off on the police cruiser, because I think this is just, you have to weigh them, this one gets the priority to me, but, and we're not paying full price, we do have an offset from the state fund.
Other comments? Those in favor of the 10-wheeler? Article 17.
Unanimous.
Enjoy this.
Was anybody opposed?
No.
Okay, good.
Next time that happens.
Article 18, State of New Hampshire Bridge Funds.
Make a motion to recommend Article 19 for the, or I'm sorry, 18 for the bridge fund.
Second.
There was a delay.
Okay, it's been well publicized that
What bridge is it?
River Road.
River Road is a major one.
Well,
Doesn't
but,
specify a bridge, this is a fund receipt.
It's for all of the bridges, but the one that's in most dire straits right now is on River Road, I believe.
There's an article in this week's Where in the World News that explains all this and how much is in the fund and so forth,
Who
so
wrote that article? This is to pull money into the bridge reconstruction fund.
Right.
Right.
How much more money does this fund need? It's been on here for several years. When
Yeah.
are we done with it?
Well,
Well, it
we're waiting
hasn't-
until the state can provide matching funds.
Yeah.
And
Short though, when there may be additional cost to the bridge that was under repair.
at one time, we would've had enough, but the state hasn't provided the money to give the go-ahead with the matching funds, or their portion, because they have their priorities on their red bridges around the state, and
Right, and the point is, we need to have money available.
When
as
it
soon
happens.
As
as
soon
they
as
say,
they cut
"We're gonna
loose, we
start."
gotta have it ready,
Right.
yeah.
As soon as they
And,
come and say, okay, we're gonna come to your place, and if we
So,
don't have the money. All right,
How
we'll go
many
to the
years
bottom
do
of
we have to keep doing this before we have all the money that they need to say yes, pull the
Well,
trigger?
I think that,
Depends.
according to Jason, they have the money available, but we need our share available, which is 20% of the total cost,
So how many
for a
more
total
years is that?
replacement of River Road Bridge. That's what I put in the articles, I hope it's right.
Right, but
But
what I'm trying to figure
I got
out.
the information from Jason, and also, there's a breakdown of what is available in that fund that I got from Beth, which tells how much of it was money that came from taxation over a period of 3 or 4 years, and also how much came in on 2 separate occasions from the state to go into this fund. So,
Unfortunately, there's no good way of saying that it's gonna be 2 more years or 3 more years. A lot of that's gonna depend on the state when they decide.
Because my
it's-
question is, the longer this drags out to get this thing filled up, is the cost just gonna keep going up and up, so we're never gonna catch up?
right.
Yeah.
Probably.
Is that the deal?
But if
Yeah,
the
that's
state
kinda
has the
what
money available, and I think that the total that Beth gave me was 700 and some odd thousand that's in the fund, including state money from 2022 and 23, as well as the tax money. So, it looks like it's a go as soon as the engineers can.
Process has started.
Pardon me?
Process has started.
Progress
The
is,
process has started.
it started, yeah.
But
They've,
this
they've
is
set up a
also
committee to
also
evaluate the
anyway.
engineering
right.
organizations who submit their bids.
So it's a no-brainer.
Well, there are two questions. First of all, does this fund need the money? Number one. And number two, since it came from the state, is it possible to use this money for another purpose? For example, to offset the truck's cost?
No,
No.
because it's bridge fund.
It's very
That's
specific.
the road reconstruction, which also came from the state. You could put it to the truck, because that's what the truck's used for besides plowing, it's used for road reconstruction.
Right.
So they got the okay to use it for that. The other thing is, there are 2 other bridges. They're smaller projects, but there's Lowell Road and Old Francistown Road that are also on the red list. But the critical one, because of the use, and again, I'm quoting from the article, but that route, well, all surrounding towns, or many of them, get their sand and gravel from that route, as well as private contractors, and also, when we did a hazard mitigation plan for the town, that was identified as an alternate evacuation route, because it goes from one end of the town to the other, the same as Route 114 does. So, that's a very important bridge.
But this money can only be used for bridges.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, that,
So what is this
Can only be
discussion?
This
No,
money.
no, no, why, can we move on?
yes. Bridge fund. All those in favor of recommending Article 18?
No-brainer.
Unanimous.
Okay.
We're on to 19.
Road reconstruction, this is a yearly article. $600,000 for road reconstruction.
Make the motion to recommend Article 19 for road reconstruction.
Second.
And you can see the figures which comes from the state, and what will be, taxation would be 316 out of that, 284 would be from the highway blank
How much,
Doing
block
well over here.
grant.
how much was this last year? The 600,000?
I know it was 500 total, 283 from the state.
So we're being asked for another 100,000, going from
No,
500,000?
no, it wasn't. It was, no, it's increased over the years, and the reason it's increased over the years is because when we did the bond for catching up, so to speak, with those that were in really poor shape and needed it in order to not get worse. This would be for road reconstruction as well as keeping up the others that are not already in need of total reconstruction. Whereas some of the money from that, most of the money from that bond was to rehabilitate roads that didn't need total reconstruction. So what they've done over the last few years is try to combine it into one. So this is for total reconstruction, but some of it will also go into upgrading the yellow listed bridges, roads, I mean. Anyways,
The description is the same as last year's. It is it's $100,000 more. We're getting the same amount of money from the state as last year. And the description is the same, so it's a good call.
Why did we increase it?
Cost of asphalt?
Yeah, you were asking if it.
We have
if it
some more
increased.
information.
Yes.
So last year, the article that went through CIP that you all saw, you guys weren't on it, was 640. There was money already left over from the projects from the year before in the capital reserve fund, so we opted to reduce, to stay at 640 total. That's why we reduced the amount to 500. We've always been around 600,000 for the last couple of years. So last year it went to 5, largely for the balance that was left already sitting in capital reserve, so we didn't raise the 640. We only raised the 500, and we get roughly the same amount from the state every year.
So last year was the exception, this year we're going back to normal.
Right, because we had money left, so why, and CIP approved 640 for the projects, and we already had 140, so we only asked for 5.
Thank you.
we're gonna call the vote. Those in favor of recommending Article 19, road reconstruction, raise your hand. Everybody?
10-1.
10-1, okay. Those who are not in favor of,
Okay, reason? Just in shortened form?
A third of our town has roads that are not covered by this, and yet those people pay taxes for them and get no benefit.
Article 20.
Article 20, roadside mower, for $175,000.
Yes, I did.
Make a motion, to recommend Article 20 for the roadside mower.
Second.
Oh, no.
I was talking to Neil, he was making.
Okay, as it said, we replace a 1995 machine, but also they still need to do the mowing, and so they have to contract it out or rent out or whatever they do, but, anyways,
I will
It's
kick
just-
this off. I
yeah.
think they ought to rent something for another year and see how it goes. This is a lot of money. We've got a lot of warrant articles coming forward. I just don't see the point of buying this.
but it could end up costing you more than this to contract it out.
Or if you rent it and one of your people does it, which is what we've done before,
This is one of the 6 that we don't have?
yeah.
One of the 6 what?
No, she was saying that we could rent the mower and have her one of the 6 employees that we
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have in the Department of Public Works.
But they don't need a CDL,
operating
so you
mower.
could hire somebody then.
We have a motion on the floor.
Yes. Oh, no, we don't. Oh, wait, yes, we
Yeah,
do.
yes, we do.
James and John, I'm so sorry.
So-
I'm so sorry.
Any
Your
other
name's right
comments
here.
before we vote on it?
Go ahead.
This is $175,000, it's 14 cents, this is a huge expenditure. I thought we had heard that there were other ways to do this, and over the long run, they might be more expensive, but certainly in the short run, we could have the town roads by contract done to the extent that we put, that there was money in the budget for it. to deal with this, rather than spend $175,000 of taxpayers' money to buy this equipment, which we of course would have to operate, and with our short staff.
Maybe we get a
This is the
group
kind
of
of-
old farmers out there with size.
No, I think we can
Name
rent it
set?
from the same company that sells it to us. This is one of those where I think.
You can rent these from
we really need-
Sunbelt.
We really need to recognize that we can't have everything, and that perhaps the roadsides won't be as well known as they would otherwise be with this.
We do
This
live
is
in
one
the
of the ones
country.
that to me was
Yeah.
less important than some of the other articles.
But they try to keep under control, you know, not to be a wise guy about it, like I just tried to be and failed. But this knotweed and bamboo, that is very hard to keep up with. And
I thought we were getting rid of knotweed with chemicals.
Yes.
Not mowing.
I mean,
You
the
don't
mowing,
mow
the
You
mowing
don't
certainly
mow
knocks it
knotweed
down,
and you
but
don't mow
but you have
bamboo,
to
it
do.
spreads.
Have to do chemicals.
well, I think they're still mowing it because it's still
It
spreading.
reproduces quicker.
75 grand.
Yeah, it's,
If you mow knotweed, it reproduces more quickly.
So is
So that-
bamboo.
That's the wrong thing to do to knotweed. is
So
to
we
mow.
definitely don't want a new mower, because we definitely don't want a mower.
Well,
I don't think I'll put that in my comments.
all right, other comments, get it?
knotweed is separate from this
We're
one.
preventing
Yeah, I
knotweed
agree,
from
knotweed
spreading.
is not part of this.
Vote.
Not
We have a
weed.
motion on the floor. All those in favor of the roadside mower? Not in favor of, in favor of recommending the purchase of the roadside mower. Article 20, raise your hand.
Okay.
Now, do we know to do the reverse?
Yes. Those who are opposed to recommending?
All those in favor of not recommending?
Well, no, we're just,
We're doing opposed in the same
Opposed to
motion.
recommending. Okay.
do we have to do the other one now or not?
Yes.
Yeah, those who,
Well, we have to do a motion first.
Motion to not
Recommend.
recommend the warrant article as written.
Second.
all in favor of not recommending the warrant article as written?
Could you
Look,
imagine if we
I'm
opened
I'm on the
drinking
other
beer
side.
before this?
All those opposed
Okay.
to not recommending.
Opposed, one.
Tom C.
Okay, Tom, we need it, why was that, we need that again? Just
Well, I just,
more,
really?
more cost effective to actually have the equipment than
Yeah.
it's gonna cost you. If you elected to mow everything, it's gonna cost,
$12,000 a year to mow.
cost,
About 2 weeks.
That's fine.
yeah. So you still can contract out a little,
Maybe 15 years.
the work, yeah, yeah.
That's how much is budgeted, right?
It's fine, we live in the country, it's not a big deal.
We'll hire some shepherds instead of
So it
DPW
doesn't cost
workers.
$12,000 more in town.
Might be
Oh,
cheaper.
it costs about 200-some thousand to
Yeah,
mow
yeah.
the town, if you look
But
at all
we're
the
not mowing
mileage.
the town.
Yeah, I'm just saying that if you did mow the town, I think it's over 200,000 is what, because I did ask Jason that when I was down there.
Okay, this next
Yeah.
one I need clearance on, I don't understand
So-
this one.
We can do the worst areas, very limited.
Article,
very few people that rent it.
okay, Article 21, trailer caddy.
Make a motion to recommend Article 21 for the trailer cat.
Second,
All right. Now, the way that I understand it, presently they need somebody with a
CDL.
CDA,
CDLA.
which means qualified to drive a trailer truck, in order to move the trailer around on the town property. So this is a caddy, which is like a little hand-operated thing that would move it. It would not require a license to do it. So they wouldn't have to take somebody in off another job to move it and, or call somebody in on overtime or whatever. Yes, Neil?
This was the one article, as I recall, that one selectman opposed. Ricky Hipler, the chairman, opposed this because he had serious doubts about whether this particular kind of caddy could operate in snow
yes,
on our hilly, unpaved area in the transfer station.
Didn't Mud come
Well,
up for that
He
same
did.
discussion?
He did get Jason to check with the manufacturer, and apparently the manufacturer will take this back at a cost of $1,000, and I don't recall the transportation or freight charges involved, if in fact it didn't work, okay?
But Jason
because-
also told you that the manufacturer is in Minnesota, where they have lots and lots of snow.
It's not on a hill, it's flat.
Yeah, it's not exactly hilly down there.
It's flat.
It's very flat. I'm not talking about Minnesota, I'm talking about our transfer station.
Oh,
Yeah.
Partially paved, I don't think it's all paved.
I don't know how much, well, when I was there, it looked pretty rough to me, and it's not hilly, you're right, but it's not necessarily level.
lumpy.
In any event, I just wanted to share with you that the chairman voted against this because he didn't think it would work under our circumstances.
I think that they've worked out a deal where they would actually see that it worked before they invested in it. But there is a cost for him to come out, but I think that cost is then credited toward the price when it's bought. So it's not like you're gonna get something and, oh my gosh, what we bought, purchased. So it'll be a proven thing before the money is put in for it. But
What are we doing now to move these trailers that won't work or won't continue in the future?
They got an old tractor there that, that you need the CDL for, with which to hop in, move the trailer out, so that it can be picked up by the contractor and move another one in. That old green relic down there, yeah.
And you can't use a modify a loader or some other piece of.
I'm not a, I'm,
No, they're
no,
not
I don't know.
made to balance
I'm
that
not-
kind of load.
Yeah.
It's more so Saturdays, you pay 3 hours a minimum overtime to get someone to come in to move it.
Yeah.
And we only have very few
See-
with As.
Yeah.
Occasionally, Selectman Hitler will hop in if he's at the right place at the right time, he has an A. But there's very few now that have As.
other,
Is that,
John wants you.
John,
Why is there no tax impact shown on your spreadsheet?
Coming from the
Coming from
transfer station.
Transfer station
We have a revolving fund or revenue
revolving
fund.
fund from the
So the money that
Coming
they
guess I
from
should have read
plastics,
it.
not plastics anymore,
Special
cardboard.
revenue fund, which was created for this
Recyc-
purpose.
That's the recycling account, right?
Yeah, we got paper there, we got the tin, the aluminum, the glass, and the metal.
no, it's not the recycling, because recycling goes into town revenue. It's,
It's not recycling? It's not for recycling? No?
I think-
Recyclable special revenue fund.
Yeah, I thought they
it's
get the money,
recycling
that was
Yeah,
voted
we-
in
We did a special revenue fund a couple of years ago, until 50%.
50/50.
oh, 50/50.
Yeah, 50 goes in the general fund.
if I may, Tom?
Yes, of
This
course.
is one of the disadvantages of having all of these funds, because, hey, there's no tax impact, let's buy it. But over the years, we've paid higher taxes because 50% of these recycling fees were set aside, not used as revenue for the town, and put in this fund. So, we've already paid for this in one sense, on the cheap, every so much per year.
Yep.
But the voters never really had a chance to decide basically whether this is a good idea, because it's free. So let's
Isn't
buy
that
it,
why
there's
we
no
have
tax
capital
impact.
reserve funds?
But they approved, they voted for the reserve fund, the cap, so they in fact said this is a good
They said
idea.
we like
You're
this, so
right-
we're
you're
not
right in
getting
that
hammered
sense, but I think
24/7.
most- I'm not sure that all of the voters truly understood that they were making that kind of a commitment. But yes, you're right, they
Well,
voted for it.
shame on them.
We have to do some thinking.
The finance committee just didn't.
Another question, if we don't take the $53,000 out of this fund for this purpose, could we use the $53,000 in this fund for some other purpose?
Like?
For some other warrant article, I don't know.
No, only
At the
related to
tran-
Like for the mower.
For the
Depends on
trans,
how the fund is
that's not the transfer station.
The
Depends on
mower
how
The
Is that
mower's
the transfer
highway.
station stuff?
Oh,
That's the transfer
Do we
station.
need a couple of years ago, didn't we buy a back?
We already
Oh,
did.
we bought the thing that Bill got stuck in, whatever.
Oh, that Bobcat?
Not the, I don't know, the
Skid steer.
skid steer, there you go, yeah.
And we could pay for that out of this fund.
Probably.
But we already have it.
No, but I understand. Is there other equipment that we need? Is this one going to be used for some other purpose, or the money just sitting there?
I think you should find out what it was set up for first. I mean, we can sit here all night long.
But I mean, it's
Right.
obvious we gotta do
We're gonna-
something. I mean,
Well,
somehow
let's
this
let's
crap's
just
gotta get
vote,
solved.
that's what we can do, you know,
Yeah.
and we're gonna be able to test it out beforehand. The money is coming from the fund that
get
was
to
set
go
up
down
for
there and test
transfer
it?
station. I don't want you to run over yourself. Okay, so, any other comments before we vote on this?
No.
All right, to me, it makes sense, because the money's there, and it's for a transfer station purpose. All in favor?
It's free, it's free.
All that talk for what?
Feel good about it.
I guess so.
Gentlemen, no?
Have a
Yeah.
good,
Were there any opposed?
No, all that.
Actually, the
Okay, good.
temperatures are
Yeah,
gonna
being-
warm, so we stay
Landfill
warm.
cap.
Next.
Make a motion, recommend Article 22 for the landfill cap.
Second,
I don't see as we have any choice on this one.
That was my question, was, isn't this something we actually have to do, for some safety or legal purposes? I don't remember the details.
oh,
Yeah.
RSA
It was
35.
it was a compliant issue, but I don't remember exactly which location and where.
Naomi, was that the reason that you had a meeting with a state person at the transfer
Yeah.
station?
So back, so the landfill, as you know, has a cap on it, and by state law, we're supposed to keep it covered with a cap. And what happened is, we had a lot of rain, washed down some of the fines, filled up, kind of the drainage. And what happened is it started to float, so the cap slid off the backside. And so now it's uncovered, and so DES did come down to walk through the landfill with us. That's more, it was two-pronged to that. We are in the middle of renewing our DES permit for the transfer station that was back in 1989 is when we first got it. We have to make some changes, so they wanted to come down and look at, actually view the site and how everything is done. At the same time they were there, we took a hike up over the hill and looked at that. They've been patient. That could have been, I'm not gonna go off topic, but that could have been something we could have spent the year-end money for, but we opted to put it in front of the voters. Because it is a serious issue, and if we don't get the money, we may have to be forced to do it and be fined.
yeah.
I mean, they're being patient with us, knowing the situation, but they did view it when they were there in November, so they're aware of it.
Didn't they see there's also a crack on another part of it? There's a shifting somewhere
We did a lot of
else.
walking that day, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of, we have to keep the cover on. This isn't the first time it's slipped,
Yeah.
though. Tom will remember that. It slipped before during major rainstorms. This happened in another area. We've fixed it, we've cleaned out, so it won't do it any further, but we still have a cap that slipped.
but it's a must-do, there's no way around it.
Tom? Yep.
I was gonna ask Naomi a quick question. Did they look for any other funding sources for this grants or anything like that, do you know?
We have not.
No? Okay.
Other comments? All those in favor of Article 22, recommending Article 22? Landfill cap.
Unanimous.
Were there any opposed to recommending or not recommending? Okay, cemetery cypre funds. The town raise and appropriate the sum of $30,000 for cemetery improvements. Funds for this will be withdrawn from the said sum from cemetery trust funds cypre account. No tax impact.
Make a motion to recommend Article 23 for the Cypress Cemetery.
Second,
I think that, this is an article that we're familiar with every year. Do we really need a lot of discussion?
It's usually 10,000 though. It's been up to 30.
but they have the money to do it.
Yep, and I was just gonna add that, for the Historical Society, they're doing a lot of work on cataloging and researching cemeteries right now. And there's a lot of work that needs to get done. It's been neglected in many ways. And that's why they upped it to 30. It was just there's a glut of work that needs to be done there, some of them are in bad shape.
Any other comments? Those in favor of recommending Article 23, Cypre Cemetery Funds?
Let's see what we can do.
Unanimous? Everybody?
Were there any opposed to that?
Nope.
Okay.
Can somebody let me know what was the vote on the replacement of the building inspector? I somehow didn't make that down.
Yep.
We passed it.
10-1.
Okay. I have a yes, but I didn't write down the number. Appreciate it.
There's plenty of money in that cemetery fund? Okay. So I usually try to put that in there, just tell them there's plenty of money available. If you don't have it, it's okay, I can get it from you, later, Naomi.
That has a sheet with all the fund balance on it.
It is?
There is a sheet that has all the
Okay,
balance.
okay, all right.
You might have got one, but I don't know if it's up to date.
That's okay, Naomi.
Going on to Article 24.
Sure. Yep.
Which would allow the Conservation Commission to hire a forester for $25,000.
Make a motion to recommend Article 24 for the forester.
Second.
And that money will be coming from the town forest account, so there will be no tax impact.
You gotta maintain the forest.
Pardon me?
You have to maintain the forest.
Right. Any comments?
It's okay.
There's also some revenue from
Right.
the output of that maintenance and harvesting.
Right,
Yeah.
Stumpage, timber.
right.
And it keeps us country.
Long-term crop.
Tries to.
Recycle.
All those in favor of Article 24? Why couldn't we have moved along like this a little earlier in the evening?
Somebody started to raise questions in the beginning.
Also, I'm doing a terrible job tonight, of being all fuddy-duddy with everything.
I'm taking up a lot of real estate.
Article 25.
Make a motion to recommend Article 25.
Second.
Yes, it is.
What's the matter?
Can we, before we start this discussion, not relitigate everything that's been going on in the selectmen's meetings, please?
Oh, I think that's a
Because we'll
great
be here
idea.
for like 6 hours.
I will say that I am not for this. I think there is a lot of contention going on around this article, and I think spending one more year not dealing with it to get all the legal action on it, come up with a real plan would be better than moving forward with this article as written.
I have to agree with James. I think we're going to need to see an attorney. I think there's a lot of issues that need to be dealt with on all sides, and it needs to go on a hold.
There's a comparable article,
Yep.
petition,
Yep,
the petition article,
yep.
Understood.
And that
same
needs-
concept.
Same
Yes.
concept.
So in other words, let's hold off for a year till we learn what we're doing.
Exactly.
Yes.
There was some request to the selectmen to get some sort of a legal opinion by next Monday.
Yeah.
That's gonna
Naomi,
be
you know what happened to
hard.
that?
Well, I stayed till a little after 11 and sent the legal opinion, so I didn't have to do it Thursday morning before.
Have-
And I'm waiting, just like we're waiting on DRA and legal for the weigh-in of all of them.
I mean, we're
But
at the
the
tail
attorney
end
has
of
not
it.
gotten back and said, yes, I will be able to get it to you, or no, I will not be able to get it to you?
The response is,
I hear.
I will do my best to review the materials that was sent over before Monday, but as you can imagine, yours isn't the only warrant that I have to review before Monday's posting deadline.
Good luck.
I don't think we should hold our breath on this.
You were here that night, we knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
it's-
we may, if everything comes back, we could always re-vote on it, but at this point, I think holding off on it.
As- I have my own views on this
We didn't
personally,
even make
but
it.
I agree with James that because this is so contentious, we need to make sure we have all of the facts as much as we can, and all of the legal advice that can tell us what our options are before we go ahead. So I will be voting with James against this, and also, I hope, with James against the
Yep.
competing article.
Agree.
Do we weigh in on the petitions?
I was gonna say, the
We-
competing article doesn't
On
have
this
money on it.
It doesn't have money in the article, but the article requires the spending of money.
Well,
Or the reallocation.
let's wait till we get to that article, okay?
But yes,
Any
we
other
can
comments
weigh
on
in
Article
these.
25?
I abstain from any discussion. I'm on the board for the Forest Society. I'm one of their executive trustees.
All right, so the motion is to
Recommend,
recommend, okay.
just 'cause.
Those in favor of recommending this article?
Which article are we on?
25.
I thought we were skipping.
It's not time for bed
Article
yet over
25.
here.
All right, those in favor of not recommending this article?
Or opposed to recommending.
Yeah.
And we have one abstention.
One abstention.
You got one that, why don't you, for now, you add 2 abstentions?
All right.
I'm in the neighborhood.
Okay.
I'm right across the street.
092.
So do we have to go the other way
Yes.
now?
Yeah, no, because that motion
No.
failed, so now we need a motion.
To pass, to not.
To not recommend.
All right, go ahead, you're good at this.
All right, so Article 25, make a motion to not recommend Article 25.
All in favor of not recommending Article 25?
02.
And 2 abstentions.
Oh, we're speeding right through this.
But that one could change.
I don't think 26 is a,
We might have more information Monday, right?
Well, does this affect us?
It could potentially, but it's not a monetary, I mean.
no,
There's no
I
money
don't,
in this.
Then we don't need to worry
Pardon me?
about it.
There's no money in this article.
right, we don't weigh in on this. Well, that was an easy one. Article 27,
Is the same circus? Yes?
This is a petition article. This is the one you were gonna leave out as well, like Article 25.
Right,
Yeah.
so, can I just make a motion to not recommend Article 27?
Sure. Second.
those in favor of not recommending this article? For the same reason, you know, it's,
Yeah, I'm gonna abstain again, same thing.
Likewise,
What do you sit on, Elizabeth, that I
the
just,
Society for the Protection of New Hampshire Forests, the Forest Society.
Very
Forest, New
nice,
Hampshire Forest Society?
very nice.
Article 28,
Do you need to put that in, or you just?
I don't know, they may wanna know why, I just,
Okay, this is about money, so we do get weigh in on this.
Yeah.
I will make a motion to not recommend Article 28.
Second.
Get my mind on this one again.
Basically, this article eliminates the conservation fund.
Right.
Not technically, because the fund will still exist, but the town is rescinding the current practice of taking 75% of the land use change tax and putting it into this fund. If you have land that's in current use, you have 100 acres, you put it in current use, you pay almost no taxes, because state law and the state constitution allow different tax rates for land that is not currently used. So that forest and so forth, you're not using it for anything, you pay almost no taxes on it. But the law says that when you change that use, you subdivide it, okay? Then you pay a tax, and where it's 10% of whatever you sell it for. So you bought the land for a nickel an acre way back in 1800, you're selling it now for $200,000 for the acreage, you'll pay $20,000 to the town, because you've changed the use from forest to development. That $20,000, 75% of that, $15,000, goes into this conservation fund. And the Conservation Commission uses that money to acquire land for conservation. Sometimes we'll see an article that says, shall we take $150,000 in the conservation fund and use it to buy parcel X, Y, and Z, along with the land, along with a grant from so-and-so, and money from this fund and that fund, and maybe we raise $10,000 in taxes to buy this land and preserve it for conservation
I think
purposes.
we're all
This
set on
article
that.
eliminates that.
Yeah.
No money will
With
go into that
clarification
fund.
that
Pardon me?
you don't vote on the conservation fund.
Okay, so we don't need to say, do anything with this?
I'm just, no, I'm
Because
saying for
we're-
Neil's clarity.
I was incorrect?
So the current use money goes into the current use fund.
Right.
That does not require town meeting. What requires town meeting is the town forest money.
Yeah.
The Conservation Commission has free will to expend conservation money per the RSA. So it does not go to a vote at town meeting.
That was one of
Just
the
for
things.
clarification.
Oh, okay, it was just when we had to put in money.
No, when you wanted to purchase something, you had forest money, and in the last purchase you did at town meeting, you went for $140,000, you bought a piece of property, but that money came out of the forest account. The last purchase on 114 for the Barden property was just a public hearing, and they have the right, under their RSA,
I didn't know
to
that.
buy
Thank
that
you.
from a public hearing. Just, I wanted clarification.
But we do get to vote on this.
Yeah, I'm not taking that away. I'm just saying that he talked about conservation, didn't want you to be thinking
Right.
it was differently.
Okay,
Right, so
thank
if a landlocked half acre someplace comes up for sale for whatever reason, the conservation said, well, it's right in the middle of everything else, we can just go ahead and purchase
If they have
that
enough money,
You're not worried
they'll have the public
Yes.
hearing and
Without going to
purchase it.
without going to the town.
Yes,
Got it.
Right.
yes.
Thank you.
James, was your motion to not recommend?
To not, right, the motion on the floor is to not recommend.
Okay, any other discussion? Those in favor of not recommending? Those opposed to not recommending?
Oh my, we're good.
No abstentions, right?
What are the damages, Tom? Because we're gonna have to rethink all this.
Well,
Yeah, I will send out an update.
I don't think we're gonna do minutes tonight.
No?
I would ask that,
Not a bedtime story?
They're all good.
I had a couple of things.
yeah, look at them closely and make the, you come in with specific recommendations. If you see something that needs to be changed in the minutes for the last 3 meetings, which say 4 meetings now counting tonight. And maybe we can do some of that on the 6th, if we don't have other things pending for them then. We get a little slack because they're so late, but we've had the minutes done in draft form. It's just a matter of getting them into final form.
Can I just throw out, I'll send an update to the sheet out for everybody, but, if I'm doing it right, we're at 5.62% increase. $350,000 house is increasing $371. 400,000 is $423.
Is that including the schools or just?
Including the
town?
schools?
The schools.
With everything,
Everything.
everything we voted for, if everything passes the way we recommend,
We recommend it.
it's a 5.62 increase.
Still too high.
Okay.
So you're
I,
looking at $400 increase for your average house.
I just need to let everyone know, next week I will be here, but I'm leaving for Florida next morning, and I will not be back in time to do the minutes legally required to us get them in.
Good
So,
for you.
Could someone please do the minutes next week for me?
You're not gonna do them in Florida?
No, I am not.
So you will take the minutes, is that right or no?
No, I'm asking if someone will take them and distribute them for
Whoever
next
takes them
week.
should write them up and distribute them.
Yeah.
Not
Tom, you did such an excellent job last year for us.
spreadsheets and minutes. Yeah, no.
Hey, it's just a
I'll
second
volunteer
career.
to do the minutes.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, did you guys decide what time you're gonna meet on, it's Tuesday, though, the 6th, so I don't know if that changed anybody's.
What?
Well, we have a meeting scheduled for the
I just want to
31st
know
as
when
well.
it's open.
Maybe we can tie up all the rest of
That's
this stuff on the
Wednesday,
31st.
Yeah,
Wednesday.
okay.
We'd like to put the calendar out before the 1st. And next week's the 31st, it's your meeting.
Yeah, but,
So February 6th, I'm just asking, you're gonna stick with 6:30, you're gonna stick with 7? That's all I'm asking.
yeah, we'll make it 6:30
And that's
6:30.
6:30 on the 31st and
Yep.
6:30 on the 6th.
on the 6th, yeah.
It's a Tuesday, the 6th.
I have a question, do you need me to post that you're gonna be at deliberative sessions or not? And then do a post for your meetings for this month.
You
Yeah, so the
probably
only-
need to
the only
post
thing
it where
that's-
it's delivered
The only thing
to.
that isn't posted, I guess, is just the 6th,
February.
February
So I can
6th.
do the 3rd for deliberative, the 6th, the.
And the schools, because we will be at the
You have to do
schools.
something that next week because it has to be at the printer by February 15th.
February 15th, yeah.
And
Well,
we'll make
That's
up
the most cheating phone case I've ever seen.
Yeah, goodness gracious.
See, I can't
Very
switch
cool.
stuff this time of night or else I just,
So we'll wait for the updates for Monday and then we can.
Yeah,
anything.
we're still in the
Give it to you,
meeting,
you
we
got
haven't
it.
adjourned
We're
yet.
still in a meeting, guys?
Sorry to adjourn.
Second?
all in favor?
In favor, disappear.
Of